Yep. Yumiko Route Part 6, it should say. Okay, and it does. Perfect. I mean, I'm not gonna go, like, rewatch any, like, of the scenes I've seen previously on stream. Just to put it into perspective, we are apparently, according to this game, 97% of the way through all of Fruit of Grisaia. We've played through 97% of this visual novel here, and for all we know, like, depends on just how fast I read or how long it is. I don't know, I might end up doing, like, the final 3% all this stream, who knows. Also, I guess it could depend on, like, how long I want to just be live for, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at that one more time when it actually says, like, 100%. You know, for all we know, we might literally be done, like, within, like, the next 2 hours, who knows. So now, I guess first things first, I'll just mull over what seems like the more reasonable choice to try and get the best possible ending. I mean, I didn't actually go and look at the details of either ending, but some time ago I heard there was, like, not a quote-unquote good or a bad ending for Yumiko's route. There's, like, a neutral, and then there's, like, a much happier ending. So, like, I assume, like, nobody's gonna fucking die if I make the wrong choice. I mean, if there's, like, no quote-unquote bad ending, like, nobody should die or anything, right? Or just, like, whether or not they die in a physical sense or, like, in some other sort of sense, like, whether they die physically or, like, the person they were is just, like, no more because, like, they've just gone, like, through, like, so much mental trauma that just, like, destroyed their brain in some capacity. So, thinking about this realistically, the game dialogue suggested at least a couple times that we can't keep running away forever, so I'm assuming that's gonna give us, like, the less desirable outcome if we just keep on trying to run away together. Yeah, I think somewhere, like, towards the end of, like, part 5 of my Yumiko Route stream, like, something, like, eventually, like, this case is going to get to the police, then all of the media, public media is going to get involved, and then by that point there will be nowhere left to hide, so I'm guessing this will be the less desirable outcome. Okay, so of course I have it saved at that choice. And then I can just go back, load it, and then just make the other choice. Actively resolving a conflict between human beings is a lot harder than it might sound. First, you need to understand the cause and context of this disagreement in great detail. Only once you precisely identify the interests of both sides can you even begin devising a plan. And when the conflict's particularly volatile, you're building that strategy on a foundation of sand. All too often, the situation will shift underneath you, rendering all your painstaking preparations useless. In other words, when a serious dispute arises between two people, it's pretty damn rare for both parties to walk away satisfied in the end. Often it comes to an exchange of blows until one side falls. These days, it's pretty common for a third party to impose an unequal compromise, leaving behind mutual animosity to carry over into another round of conflict. Not to repeat myself, but finding a way to solve the problem at hand is far more difficult. There's only one universal solution to any such dilemma. The effect's not always obvious and it's never quick. The exact results vary with circumstances. Still, everyone stands its absolute power. So when things seem well and truly hopeless, it's a method we often turn to. Time heals all wounds, human beings forget, eventually we die. The irresistible flow of time wears everything away in the end, even our quarrels. Another hot one. After carefully lowering a box of industrial wire to the ground, I wiped the sweat from my brow with a towel draped around my shoulders. September's nearly at an end, but from the weather you'd think we're still mired in the dog days of summer. The sun blazes ruthlessly down from the sky, and it's blinding. The reflection from the sea is just as bad, but then again, compared to the guys who are actually out there fishing, I don't know much to complain about. So what, Yuji's now working on some, like, fishing operation now or something? I'm guessing, so he's working with some fishermen, it seems. A young man carrying a similar load calls out to me from behind. God, did something happen at the office? Right, just more like random manual labor that's not Yuji's like previous job as this quote what sounds like an assassin. A top secret agent / assassin. Now just like some guy working on a fishing dock. Not the harbor's bouncer, you know. I take the rough wooden box from my coworker's hands and add it to the pile with a sigh. Is Uichi's sign at the main office or out of the site? Okay. Yep. I run into the man every once in a while on the job. He's always been on the scrawny side. Now can I have one else who's gonna stand up to those fisherman types? Easy for you to say, I'll take care of this one, but I think I'm gonna tell the office we need to start relying on the police. Don't know how well that would work out since the police are relying on you too. The police, huh? That's a little ironic. I always wondered why you're so good in a fight. Did you used to be a troublemaker or something? How did you know? Probably not in the way you're thinking, though. Leaving my coworker cocking his head in puzzlement, I push open the glass door to the harbor and office and step inside. The air conditioning quickly cools my sweaty body. By the time I reach the phone, my overheated brains finally begin to function again. Hey Yumiko, you went out? Just a little shopping trip? You're early today. Something happened at work. My boss was kind enough to let me head home afterward. Nothing big, I'll tell you while we walk. Taking over for Yumiko behind the stroller she'd been pushing along, I head down the road toward her apartment. It's a road we walked as students a few years ago, but the circumstances are a little different now. Wait, so they actually somehow made it back to Mahama Academy? Today Yumiko and I are walking it together, pushing our son along with us. The two of us succeeded in running away from Yumiko's father. I mean, I was about to just, like, suggest, like, her father could be getting old, but he didn't look like he was getting that old. So, I don't know, like, what the probability would have been that maybe he just, like, I don't know, suffered a stroke or a heart attack or something. I mean, like, the dude was getting angry pretty often, so... Made me think, I don't know, he could be the kind of guy to just have a heart attack and just croak and pass up, and just pass over, basically. So, is this, like, the better ending, I guess? Yeah, the two of them now have a child, they succeeded in running away from Yumiko's father. I'm guessing this is a better ending. I did have a plan for direct confrontation, but in the end, the risk was just too great. Above all else, Yumiko chose this path. Hypothetically, if her decision had been different, I would have put my fears aside and taken the other road. Our continued life as fugitives absolutely wasn't easy or pleasant. Living in constant fear took its toll on our spirits, and just scraping by was a painful challenge. There wasn't a single moment of true peace. However, on the day we made our choice, Yumiko and I accepted that struggle together. We had to change our hiding place many times, living under false names and working menial jobs, but our determination never faltered again. And about 2 years after our escape, the situation changed dramatically. Something, Julia, is that true? It was the first time it happened since my desertion. Surprisingly enough, the call was downright shocking. No reason to lie to you. Congratulations, we have a truce. Chibi was calling to inform us that Michiaki had aborted his clandestine search and formally disowned his daughter. Like, that's a fucking good thing. I mean, without the context, like, yeah, like, that fucking sucks for your, like, parents to disown you, but... Yeah, given the context that led up to this point, like, that's really fucking good news. The reason was clear enough. Eager to obtain an obedient puppet, Michiaki had grown frustrated with the fruitless pursuit of his daughter and adopted a son. Well, of course he would. Jackass would have probably never adopted another girl. It's not clear why he didn't select one of Yumiko's half-sisters. I don't know, the dude's probably fucking sexist or something. In any case, Yumiko's lost all value to him, so he's discontinued his investigation into her whereabouts. So in the end, Yumiko really was nothing but a pawn to him. Normally you wouldn't abandon the search for your daughter, just because you adopted a son. Yeah, you think? The casual way Michiaki gave up on Yumiko seemed like a blatant demonstration of how little he'd care for her in the first place, as anything but a tool. No matter how completely she'd thrown away her feelings for the man, it was hard to imagine this wouldn't hurt Yumiko. For what it's worth, Mr. Sakaki had quite a lonely expression on his face when he informed me of his decision. What's that supposed to mean? Perhaps you could also interpret this as him setting the two of you free. If you want to harass us, would have been pretty easy to just pretend he was continuing the search. It's all speculation, though. It was only a possibility, but Sakaki Michiaki might have been showing us compassion in his way. Not that there was any way for us to learn the truth, though. In other words, you two are free. Of course, we can't welcome you back with open arms after all this. You've been removed from your position on the reserve, but since the police were never involved, we're gonna let you walk away. You probably had a lot to do with that, didn't you? Sorry. From now on, focus on protecting Yumiko and making a life for yourself. Right? Since my kidnapping of Yumiko was never officially reported, there was no legal obstacle to us coming in from the cold. So basically, as far as everyone's concerned, like, it just didn't happen. Still, it created an embarrassing political problem for Ichigai and deserted my duties. A severe penalty was completely warranted. Honestly, never thought they'd let me go so easily. JB must have pulled a hell of a lot of strings on my behalf. Not to mention what she did for me while we were on the run. All things considered, I owed my former superior a debt I'd never be able to repay. The opinion of someone a lot higher up in the food chain was very influential, just mainly moving on their orders. That's all, I don't have any idea who that would be, but tell him I'm grateful. What's wrong, Julia? I'll tell him that Yuji says thank you. The conversation continued for a little while after that as we wrapped up the remaining formalities and briefly discussed the future. Yeah, you too, Julia. And then just like that, the call came to an end. Staring down at my silent phone, I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. That was the last time JB and I spoke. 2 years have passed since that day, but that black phone hasn't rung even once. When I tell Yumiko about the incident this afternoon, her expression grows troubled. I'm fine. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I mean, you know I can handle myself against a fisherman or two, right? I mean, she should know. Like, she saw him, like, taking on 8 dudes, like, firsthand. Definitely have, like, a lot more qualifications to just knock someone out than just some than just some fisherman. I mean, Yumiko saw Yuji take on, like, 8 guys firsthand, so... After that phone call 2 years ago, Yumiko and I returned to Mishima Cape, the town where we'd met. Thanks to JB's arrangements, I gained regular employment at the town's harbor management office, and the two of us were able to rent a respectable apartment. I did make an effort to not stand out too much, but I haven't quite lost the habits I picked up in my previous line of work. It's become common for me to handle some of the more troublesome situations that arise around the harbor. And that, of course, ends up making Yumiko worry like this. I feel bad, but it's also been a way for the newcomer who got his job through mysterious connections to earn some trust. Personally, I don't mind as long as there's no real danger. It's nice they rely on you, but your safety's more important. You're not just looking out for me anymore, remember? Gazing pointedly down at our child, she hits me with a potent dose of guilt. I don't want to lose any more family. Yeah, you're right. I can't just think about myself anymore. Yumiko and the small child at her side are part of my life now. From now on, I'll have to gradually start passing those problems off to the police. I promise I'll work on that. Honestly, though, it might take some time. Don't be, it's alright. We got plenty of time. I'll take care of the tidying up. Right. Yumiko stands up and heads briskly for the kitchen, where she begins washing the dishes from our meal. It's hard to believe this apron young woman is the same person as that grouchy girl in a school uniform I met a few years back. She's become so motherly already. After the birth of our child, Yumiko has been talking a great deal about family. I suppose that's only natural now that we have a son, but I think there's another shade of meaning hiding in those words. Yumiko had another family once, one that fell apart in a terrible way. To me, it looks as though that loss is still casting a shadow over her. Sensing my gaze, Yumiko looks back over her shoulder with a curious expression. Just thinking you're starting to really look the part, Mom. Really? That's nice to hear, I suppose. Something about Yumiko's smile suggests she's happier than her lukewarm response would suggest. Normally, women don't like compliments that remind them of their age, but I think Yumiko's eager to take on the role of a mother. To become part of a real family. Hopefully I can become a halfway decent father myself before too long. Yeah, I know it's gonna sound incredibly fucked up, but I still remember that Yuji definitely doesn't have, like, a good example to follow. Like, I think it was, like, his father killed his... I think his father, like, actually killed his mother. And then Yuji snapped and he killed his father. I think, like, when he was 10 years old or something, or maybe 9. And then he basically just got taken away, like, someplace else and just couldn't hang out with Sachi anymore. I think you're already a very fine dad, personally. I'm still not thinking like one, as you pointed out this afternoon. That's true. You have to be there for him, alright? Yeah. You have to be there for your child. Basically, like, the prerequisite to being a dad. You literally have to... You gotta be there for your kid. Like, otherwise, like, what kind of a father are you? Yumiko turns back to the dishes. The room falls silent except for the sound of water flowing from the tap. Is that it, after all? With the words running silently through my mind, I gaze at my wife's back. 28, 29, 30. No problems with the quantity or delivery date. Opening up a small binder dangling around my neck, I flip to a blank form and make a few quick check marks. It's a simple job today, dragging emergency rations for disaster relief out of the warehouse, inspecting their contacts and exchanging them where necessary. It's also incredibly monotonous. Naturally enough, my mind turns to other things. Should I say something to Yumiko? Pretty sure that her memories of our parents are still weighing on her mind. It would be easy enough to say something, but I don't know if that's wise. It might only end up making her even unhappier. As long as she doesn't bring it up first, maybe the kinder thing would be to pretend I haven't noticed. But is that really good enough? Got a phone call. Uichi-san again? Have him talk to the police first and then we'll talk. It's from a woman, you know Suo-san? Well, of course. Right, got it. Just tell her I'll call her back. Sure thing. A little while later, after reaching a good point to take a break, I take out my cell phone and call up the list of contacts. It's rare for me to use this thing for anything other than talking with Yumiko, but there are a few other numbers in here as well. Moving the cursor to Suo Amane, I press the dial button. Not bad. Before we chat, I got something to say to you. Don't call my office. We've been over this before, haven't we? Knowing you, I'm sure you enjoy making my coworkers wonder why I get calls from a woman other than my wife. It's a pain in the ass on my end. I want to keep you burning with youthful passion forever, Yuki. So why the call? You need something? Just figured you'd be getting bored with Yumiko's body by now. Couldn't hurt to get a pinch hitter lined up, right? Guess they're not keeping you busy enough at that restaurant. I'm going to hang up now. I hope so. Must have gotten really worked up. For some reason, she started talking like a certain someone who's been working with her since Mahama Academy shut down. Nice to see they're getting along, I guess. It's your own fault for saying that crap to a newlywed man with a child. Did you pick up that tendency for overreaction from the missus? That wasn't an overreaction, it was the only appropriate response. Do me a favor and avoid those sorts of jokes in the future. Don't say that. I'm spending my days plastering on face smiles for a bunch of old men. Surely ain't such a sin to tease a nice young man every once in a blue moon. It's kind of nice to see how she hasn't changed at all, but it's also a giant pain in the ass to deal with. I'm left with a half smile on my face. To be fair, I could have just brushed off that kind of stupid joke a couple years ago, but now that I have a family with Yumiko, I don't want to think about that thing even as a joke with an old friend. Fine, whatever. So how's it going over there anyways? You two doing alright? She's been spending pretty much all of her time helping out at her family's traditional restaurant as the first step to eventually taking over the business. Sounds like it's been especially busy lately, but they're hanging in there. Of course, all our former classmates from Mihama Academy are off living their own lives as well. Sounds like things are going pretty well on the whole. That's right, very smooth. Something wrong? Not really. Back when the two of us were still on the run, I did tell Amane a little about Yumiko's past. And although I never learned the details, I know Amane's carrying scars from her past as well. She just might have some useful insight to offer. Something I want to ask you about, if that's alright. I see. She didn't lose not even a tiny bit of that horniness. Amane's still a bitch in heat as always. Rolling around in the man's bed sheets. Good for you, good for me. I'm trying to have a serious discussion here, Amane. Jeez, what a killjoy. Alright then, what's this about? Clearly noticing my serious tone of voice, she finally stopped screwing around, so here's the thing. So you think Yumiko's still... Past doesn't just go away that easily, does it? Yeah, of course not. While I was talking, Amane simply repeated uh-huh in a thoughtful tone of voice, as if comparing the story against her own experience. Not sure either, but maybe Yumiko's hoping you'll bring it up? You think? She probably wants to talk about it, but since she decided to run away with you back then, it'd be hard for her to come out and say anything. Yumiko and I chose to run away from Sakaki Michiaki instead of facing him. Talking about her lingering arrest regarding her father might be taken as an admission she's unhappy about the choice we made. You could twist that into a criticism of me, or a sign of dissatisfaction with our life together. Considering Yumiko's personality, it seems very plausible she's keeping quiet out of fear I'll take it the wrong way. No, you're a big help, thanks. After that, I just stand there for a while, lost in thought. We have a happy life. As long as Yumiko's with me, I don't need anything else, and I think she feels the same. But if we continue to ignore her regrets entirely, I think the shadow of the family she lost is going to linger over her for a very long time. Maybe that's inevitable either way. Maybe that's the price we have to pay for running away. Still doesn't mean I can just turn a blind eye. Guess it's worth asking. What brought this on? Yeah, you're not usually one for detours, Yuji. I was a bit surprised. The reason I called Yumiko earlier was to propose we take a walk after meeting up this evening instead of heading straight home as usual. Yumiko seemed a little puzzled at first, but agreed easily enough. She just wanted to make a little time for us to talk, I guess. Watching my wife's long hair fluttering in the wind, I finally broached the topic I'd been avoiding for so long. Yumiko, I've been wondering, do you really have no regrets? About what? I'm talking about your father. Huh? It's been on my mind for a while now. When you talk about me and our son, sometimes it seems like you're seeing someone else as well. All of a sudden, there's a deeply guilty look on her face. Looks like Amane was right. Yumiko was worried about admitting her feelings. I'm not criticizing you, Yumiko. If anything, I've been feeling a little guilty myself. I'm the one who made all this happen, after all. Would you like to see your father again? I don't know how long it'll take, but if that's what you want, I'll try to make it happen. Please be honest. Once again, I turn and gaze straight at Yumiko. A familiar, beautiful face looks back at me, illuminated by the setting sun. I can't hide anything from you, can I? Yumiko murmurs those words in a pensive tone, then bends down and reaches a hand inside the stroll I've been pushing along. Stroking the head of her son affectionately, she continues in a quiet voice. So strange, I hated that man so very much, but the more I look at this boy, the more I find myself remembering him. So then, if it were possible, I'd like to have a real conversation with him, even if it's only the once. I don't know, just as long as he doesn't try anything funny, but I mean, I'm expecting that to, like, not really happen at this point. Unless, of course, like, her father's just been, like, basically spinning one giant lie for the past couple of years. But, like, he's adopted a son, apparently, already. Like, if that's true, then, like, there's, like, no way he's, like, just, like, not just telling the truth. I'd rather just forget all the rest, rather than risk damaging what we have. But if there was some way to end the bitterness, a way that didn't mean losing our happiness, then I think I'd like to see my father again. There's so much strength in Yumiko's eyes right now, more than I ever would have thought possible from her. This isn't anything like that sharp and fragile mask she always used to wear. It's the expression of someone with a firm will and courage to spare. They do say women get a bit of steel in their spine after becoming a mother, and looking at Yumiko's face, I find myself agreeing. Sorry for dragging out of you, I knew that was hard to say. That said, it's easier said than done, isn't it? The search may have been discontinued, but that doesn't mean Michiaki's eager to reconcile with his disobedient daughter, let alone the man who carried her off. It might be difficult right now, to be honest, but that might change with time. Things that seem permanent can change with surprising swiftness when the right moment arrives, just as our fugitive life abruptly came to an end. Someday we might be able to put this bitterness behind us. Right now, the passage of time is our greatest ally. That's right, that might be all we need. I bend down and peer into the stroller. Our son, too young to even speak, is sleeping peacefully inside. Stroking his cheek very softly, I speak to Yumiko. We might already have a potential peacemaker. Our child? Yeah. No matter where you go, people have to dote on their grandchildren. Might be a little much to expect that cold-hearted capitalist to transform into a smiling, genial old man once he lays his eyes on his grandson, but somehow, might be cause for hope. I haven't forgotten that story JB told me on the day our lives as fugitives ended. Depending on how you look at it, that might have been an act of mercy. The greatest possible kindness Michiaki could have shown his daughter. Naturally, I'm not planning to act based on the most optimistic possible interpretation. Still, for some reason, I can't help but thinking there was some real compassion in that decision. Not sure why I exactly feel that way, but I think I have a vague idea. Something to do with the way I've changed, the way Yumiko and our child have changed me. That ugly, impenetrable black fog inside me has been thinning out these last few years. Now and again I can even make out a beam of light or something? Thank you, Yumiko. Well, nowhere in particular. Alright, so when are they gonna go see, like, when are they gonna go meet up with Yumiko's father again? Family wasn't always a word that meant much to me. For a long time, there was nothing but a gaping void where that part of me should have been. But in meeting Yumiko and sharing my life with her, I start to discover small fragments of what I lacked for so long. Sakaki Michiaki ignored his family, threw his wife aside, and tried to use his daughter as a tool, in his own way. Now I think he's a hollow, lonely man. Not so different from how I used to be. I don't know how long it'll take, but maybe one day I can tell Sakaki Michiaki what I've learned. About the part of him he never even knew was missing. Oh, so I guess we do have to just basically, like, pick the other choice now, because it just ended and we didn't get, like, credits or anything. No credits, so I'm guessing, like, maybe the other choice was the better one? Yeah, because I know, like, on the bad ending you don't get credits, and the good ending you do. I mean, that's definitely not a bad ending, though. Sure, there's some, like, regrets and still just some loose ends that have been yet to be tied up, but definitely, like, a much better case scenario than, like, the bad endings in the other four girls' routes, for damn sure. So this is going to be the better option? The one that'll actually give us the credits? Because the first one I chose did not. So, confront him together. Play this out, and then we're done for the Grisaia. The entire fucking thing, we're done it, basically, after this point. The car advances steadily down the dark unlit road. Eventually, the rough country laying under our headlights gives way to a paved road, and the scenery around us starts to suggest the work of human hands. Dreamlike world is behind us now. We've been dragged back into reality. Glancing briefly at the GPS map next to the wheel, I do a little mental arithmetic. Another 30 minutes or so. Shouldn't be much traffic after this, so maybe a little earlier. I see. Alright, so feeling anxious. It's reassuring to have you with me, Yuji, but considering what we're up against... After all that running and hiding, we're suddenly confronting our enemy head-on. Can hardly blame the girl for being unsettled. For all her anger, Yumiko was only able to resist her father through self-imposed isolation until now. This must feel like something of a suicide mission. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Taking one hand from the steering wheel, I reach down to Yumiko's lap and clasp a shaking hand. After a few strokes of my fingers against her white knuckles, that tense fist finally relaxes a little. After a mutual choice to confront Sakaki and Michiaki together, I promptly got in contact with JB. After which Yumiko and I laid low for a few days, and yesterday I received the call I've been waiting for. Yumiko and I set out in the rented car, but I still haven't told her the details of our plan as of yet. Well, I said fight, but it would be a little too reckless to crash through the front door of a massive corporation and start kicking the furniture around. What are we gonna do? For a moment, there was no sound except our car's idling engine and the murmuring AM radio. I left on for traffic reports. Before we get to that, if we're gonna pick a fight, don't you think we're a little low on manpower at the moment? Now that you mention it, it's probably true. Right now, we're heading to the place where our allies are waiting. Our allies? That's right, a handful of people who are willing to fight the world with us. The light changes to green, a step behind the black minivan next to us in the passing lane. It eases forward to the intersection. A small silver van bathing in faint moonlight speeds earnestly down the all-but-empty National Road. Shrouded by darkness, that pale glint of light doggedly pushes forward, pursuing a single thread of hope. We're here. The final battlefield, so to speak. Climbing quickly out of the car, I wait for Yumiko to follow. As she steps down from the passenger seat, the girl looks up at the dark building in front of us, her mouth hanging open in shock. This is... Looking at my face, then at the building, then back at my face, Yumiko stutters out a few flustered words. Paying her no mind, I stride forward and push open a familiar door for the first time in a good year. Sure, it's been a while. Normally, returning after a year's absence wouldn't be enough to inspire that much emotion. But then again, considering all the dramatic changes that have transformed our lives since leaving this place, maybe it's only natural I get a little nostalgic. It's not another place, it just looks exactly the same, is it? But just as those words of disbelief leave Yumiko's mouth, the sound of rapid footsteps approaches quickly from the far side of the lobby. Long time no see! Whoa! Before I can even turn around, a human missile barrels into my side and tackles me to the ground. It's Yuji! It's the real thing! Look, woman, couldn't you manage a slightly more normal hello? But it really has been so long. Stop sucking on my damn cheek. Yumiko is going to... As expected, she's staring down at her co-ed professional wrestling match, with an expression halfway between astonishment and fury. Sorry. Looked like it made the princess a little sulky. Just get off alright. It's hard to breathe with those great fat tits pressing down on my chest. Guess that makes sense. Mine are probably a little heavier than what you're used to these days, hmm? Look, Amane. She got to monopolize you for an entire year, right? Surely I'm entitled to a friendly hug or two. With great difficulty, I finally managed to pry Amane off me. What on earth is going on here? Honestly. Amane's sudden assault might have been surprising, but not nearly so much as our return to Mihama Academy itself. I was not expecting them at all to be back at the academy after a year of just being on the run as fugitives. We're back at the place where we met Yumiko in the first place and just pretty much spent most of the story here. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll explain the circumstances later. Sachi and Makina, looking completely unchanged from a year ago, make their appearance. I mean, you use the exact same sprites, so of course they look unchanged. I'm home. Yeah, there wasn't anything suspicious going on in the neighborhood today either. Sachi, how's dinner coming? What? Yuji? Yumiko, you came back! Today? Why? When? Fairly certain we mentioned this before you left. Ain't no point telling that bird brain anything right before she goes for walksies, you know? And it wasn't walksies, I was on patrol, okay? We're fully aware that you were doing at the rounds, Michiru-sama. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. Also, dinner is indeed ready. It's croquettes tonight. That's all I want to hear. Oh, wait. I feel like I'm forgetting something. That's right. Yuji, Yumiko, why'd you two come back all of a sudden, huh? Your mind works in interesting ways, Michiru, as always. On the other hand, Yumiko is too stunned to even speak. The expression on her face suggests an ongoing internal debate as to whether this is reality or some kind of dream. Finally, she reaches out tentatively and gives the sleeve of my shirt a little tug. Not even sure where to begin asking questions, Yumiko lets her confusion spell out a somewhat jumbled stream of words. That's what it sounds like. Without explaining anything to Sakaki-san, that's what it sounds like. More or less, there was a lot going on, didn't find the time to explain. Let's go to Oni-chan's room and talk it out. Also, I'm hungry. Yes, why don't we have our strategy meeting over dinner then? Sounds good. Come on, Michiru, don't just stand around scratching your head. Let's eat. What was it again? Dinner? Strategy? Although we're probably just making Yumiko even more confused right now. For the time being, we decide to regroup in the management room, in other words, my former residence. Where should I even begin? After everyone settled down inside the room, I paused to collect my thoughts. I've actually taken quite a number of steps without Yumiko's knowledge, and in some cases matters are tangled enough that explaining systematically might prove challenging. If you're not sure, may I begin by asking something? Makes sense. Clearing up your question should make things nice and comprehensible. First things first, why is the academy still open? Why are you all still living here? From the question, I'm assuming you thought the school was going to be shut down? Yumiko nods. Don't like to put it this way, but that man created this place entirely because of me. When you disappeared, so did the meaning for his existence. That your line of thought? It's been bothering me ever since we arrived. Everyone's still here. Even Suo-san, she would have graduated by now. I just don't understand. The super senior in question responds with a bright casual smile. After the two of you went on the run, there was some talk about that. They showed us my mini velo and implied that we were suspected of conspiring in your escape. I really am sorry about that. Must have been a real headache. You got no idea how much trouble I went through. Chiru, you didn't do a friggin' thing. Maybe you could stop butting into the conversation every time something pops into your head, okay? Oh, shut up! It wasn't any fun for me either. I'm going to get back on topic now. The suspicion that they helped arrange our escape was cleared up eventually. Soon afterward, the principal informed everyone the school would be closing its doors. But nobody liked the idea of you leaving and Yuji without any place to come back to. Nobody liked the idea of leaving you and Yuji with no place to come back to. She's still talking to herself, Michiru. Yeah, sadly I don't speak Japanese because it sounds interesting. So he used the principal as a go-between and managed to persuade them to let us stay behind. How on earth did you manage that? So long as this place itself remained, we were allowed to remain living here. There was always a possibility you too might return. That was the primary argument the principal made in our behalf. More or less work, they decided to keep the dorm and school around for the moment. Guess we'd have some strange people loitering around the area for a while, but that got less common as time passed. That's why Matsushima-san was on patrol before? Right, yeah. It's a very important duty and all. You got some nerve-wracking after completely forgetting it was your turn today. Michiru-sama, don't worry, I shall always be at your side. Just give her a banana, it'll be all fine. Come on, so I slept in a little, big deal. Also, Sachi, stop treating me like a charity case. I think that basically covers your first question, makes sense? Now I'm gonna get to the main subject. How do we confront that man? I assume we returned here for a reason? Of course. Sachi indicates her understanding with a moment of eye contact, opens the notebook PC she's been holding, and then turns it to face us. A spreadsheet program appears on the screen with a list of names in the first column and thick blocks of detailed information stretching out to the side. What's this? Before explaining that, let me ask you a question, Yumiko. Why has your father, Sakaki Michiaki, been pursuing you so doggedly in the first place? What do you mean, why? Because he wants his own flesh and blood to inherit the company. Someone he can control, like a puppet, even after his retirement. This was never about getting his daughter back or what have you. He's mainly interested in securing a new tool. That's right. He leads the e-speech group and wants to make it into his puppet. There are two facts that cause this situation. What's the point of going back over this now? You don't see where I'm going here? You can't be suggesting we remove the man from his position? That's exactly what we're suggesting, Sakaki-san. How the hell are they gonna pull that off, though? Yumiko shakes her head back and forth in disbelief. That's not ridiculous. Removing him as president would require a vote from the board of directors. How could we possibly even... Could you please take a look at this? All of the group's voting stock is possessed by a single holding company known as HB Holdings. And the shareholders in that holding company itself break down like so. With a click on the trackpad, she flips from the dense spreadsheet to an easily comprehensible pie graph. Because of the group's heavy investment in public transport, the Ministry of Infrastructure holds some 30%. The rest is fragmented between utilities, banks, insurance companies, and construction firms. Several on about 10%. Mr. Sakaki Michiaki himself, a central figure in all of this, personally possesses only a few percent. What's Sachi even talking about? Seriously, what? Don't worry your pretty little head about that. Here, why don't you gnaw away on that fish sausage for a while? Alright, I roughly understand the distribution of stock, but I'm still not sure how that's relevant to the matter we were discussing earlier. At Kazami-san's request, we've been chipping away at the foundation of your father's authority. By which you mean the major shareholders? Feels a little awkward saying this to your face, but your dad seems to have inspired more than his fair share of grudges over the years. Indeed, although some fairly risky gambles are necessary, the information I gathered on Kazami-san's orders proved sufficient to unify a significant opposition faction. Don't really get any of this, but I'm making a mental note to stay on your good side. That said, the most I could contribute was a bit of strategic sneaking around. Exerting significant influence on the internal politics of such an enormous enterprise was beyond my capabilities. I'd imagine so. In that case, how on earth? And that's why JB and I arranged a few things behind the scenes. You and Haradera-san? How long have you been... Since right after our initial escape. That long ago? 1 year ago, Yumiko and I chose to flee together. At the time, I said we were going to look for an answer, not just run away. And just as those words might suggest, I began a quiet search from the shadows, seeking a way for Yumiko to earn genuine freedom. So that would be our current estimate of the opposition faction as potential sympathizers. With little prodding, we might actually stand a chance. To eliminate the problem posed by Sakaki Michiaki, we only need to deprive him of power. It didn't take long for me to reach that simple conclusion, but as a fugitive with only a few students for allies, there didn't seem to be much of a practical way of making it happen. That changed surprisingly enough with a furtive proposal from JB. Sakaki Michiaki had meddled directly in Ichigaya's internal affairs in this matter, inspiring widespread resentment. Certain higher-ups had directly authorize an attempt to arrange his dismissal. However, JB was in contact with Sakaki Michiaki as our liaison. It was too dangerous for her to take any direct action. I was assigned her direct subordinate, a woman named Kiara, to assist in planning the coup. We still don't have a majority at present. The framework is there, but we need to strengthen our collaborators without tipping off the enemy. Right, I've already explained matters to the others at the dorm. Go ahead and get in contact with them as well. To our extreme good fortune, there was already what JB called a hostile internal power operating inside the East Beach ownership, and it didn't prove difficult to make them into our allies. In any case, we carried our complex preparations forward carefully but steadily, aiming to arrange a day of reckoning. Not that I mentioned any of this to Yumiko at the time. Not too long ago, we managed to secure a majority for the opposition faction. I take out my cell phone and hold it up for Yumiko to see. You know how we hid out for a few days before coming here? Just stalling for time while our allies called an extraordinary general meeting. Agenda's pretty simple, a resolution for a certain board member's dismissal. Dismissal? We're going to have Sakaki Michiaki removed from the board of directors. Removed from the board? Wait, so if that's approved, he'll lose his role as representative as well? Exactly. You can't be the representative director of a stock company, its president, if you're not even a director. I snap open my cell phone and type out a series of digits. It's the same number Yumiko called from a public telephone about a week ago, on the verge of giving up hope. That same call that nearly meant her defeat, but this time, it's a declaration of war. Short, sweet, and to the point. It's a declaration of war. No hello, no how are you doing or anything, just, it's war. I mean, to some asshole like that, you're not just gonna say hi or anything. I mean, not just gonna, so like, I'm just not gonna go and like say, hey, how are you doing to someone like Michiaki or anything. Who is this? What time do you think it is? This had better be good. In response to Michiaki's surly greeting, I firmly and clearly announced myself, this is Kazami Yuji. What was that? All of a sudden, Michiaki shifts into an entirely different gear. There's obvious tension in his voice. Is that really you? Where are you right now? Answer me! I'm inside the prison you built. The prison? I'm pretty sure, like, he's gonna... I would imagine he'd be able to put 2 and 2 together now at this point. At this point, Michiaki responds with a shout. Mihama Academy? You wandered brazenly back after all this time? Oh, you're good at guessing games, but then again, I suppose that wasn't too much of a leap for you, was it? Shut up. Yumiko's there as well, isn't she? That's right, she's standing next to me. If you want her back, come to Mihama Academy dorm at 10 tomorrow morning. We'll talk then. 10 a.m., are you aware of what's taking place tomorrow morning? I don't see any reason I should answer that question, but in general. President Sakaki, I encourage you to tread carefully. I abruptly end the call, not bothering to answer Michiaki's question. Yumiko's still staring at me in a slack-jawed astonishment. I turn to face her and deliver a reassuring little thump on the shoulder. There, we got our actors on our stage. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the curtain to rise. Answer me, damn it! Hello? Hello?! It's me. We're heading back to the company immediately. Yes, that's right. There's been a new development concerning Yumiko's kidnapping. Also, make emergency contact with Ichigaya right now. That's right, Aradar. Get the Major General to drag that sly little spy over here. There's a possibility to connect with the general meeting tomorrow as well. Get moving before they can run away on us, understood? After completing our thorough explanation for Yumiko, we begin a final review of our plans for tomorrow. Yumiko and I will handle the actual discussion with her father. Everyone else, focus on gathering information. Roger. That Captain? Sachi, I'd like you with us as a point of contact in case something we need to know about happens. Michiru, can you patrol the area starting early tomorrow morning and keep an eye out for any suspicious movements? Gotcha. Okay. Alright, we'll gather in the lobby at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Same goes if there's any sign of movement before then. Let's finish the job, everyone. Dismissed. With that, everyone except Yumiko nods and gets to their feet. Since we've been preparing for this well in advance, there aren't any questions or objections now. All that's left is to assume our roles and see how it all plays out tomorrow. Yumiko calls out to stop us, and the others turn back to face her. I'm really very sorry. Just as the words start to leave Yumiko's mouth, Amane raises a hand to interrupt. I don't think that's something to be sorry for, is it? Huh? You're gonna make Oni-chan mad if that's the best you can do. Indeed, I don't believe we've done anything that warrants an apology. What she said, I'd rather hear thank you after the fact than sorry now. Yumiko looks at everyone's face in turn, her expression still shadowed with guilt. It's definitely a little premature for any thank yous. Why don't we put all that aside for now and have a nice long talk once this is over? We got split up before everybody could really make friends with you, Sakaki-san, so this time let's work on that, okay? I can see a complex mixture of gratitude, guilt, and anxiety in her eyes. On the whole, it would be fair to say the girl's still somewhat unsettled at the moment. It's hard to blame her after how rapidly events have developed in the last few hours. But even so, she's gonna have to confront the thing that's been holding her back all this time. Yeah, having trouble sleeping? Yes. Well, no shit. I decided to have Yumiko sleep in my room tonight, for security reasons if nothing else. It's been a while since we turned off the lights and got in bed, but there's no hint of drowsiness in her voice. Do you really think we can win? Her uneasy words echo into the dark, quiet room. If I didn't, I never would have asked you that question in the first place. Compared to risking everything on a thoughtless bet, running away and keeping her heads down would have been the clear choice. Much less risk involved. I hear clothes rustling softly on Yumiko's side of the bed. We've been lying down with our backs turned to each other, but it sounds like she's turned to face me. Of course, I'm sorry. You always think things through for my sake, don't you? She paused for a moment and sighed softly. And it's not just you, our classmates were working to help me all this time. All that for someone who's been of no use whatsoever. Even though you set the stage for me like this, I'm still so afraid. It's all I can do is just not run away. Yumiko, don't you remember what I told you at the very beginning? Huh? I thought I was pretty clear about this when I coached you out of that airplane. Nobody needs your guilt or apologies. Try gratitude. All you have to think about right now is breaking away from your father in the Sakaki house. Once you get your freedom, show your appreciation of the people who helped you. That's all the repayment we need. Of course you will. You've made your own decisions for the last year, Yumiko. You've grown. Have a little confidence in yourself. Yes, I suppose you're right. Suo-san said the same thing, didn't she? A proper thank you would be the least I can do. Another rustling sound from the other side of the bed. It's not like I'm absolutely confident about our chances myself. And I'm sure as hell not qualified to be pompously preaching at Yumiko like this. The words I spoke just now were directed to myself as much as her. An attempt to persuade a coward to stand and fight for once in his life. I have a favor to ask. Sure, go ahead. I won't snivel and whine anymore. I'll stand up to that man. For the others. For you. And for myself. So... She hesitates for a moment, then continues slowly. I don't want to think this is our last chance. But tomorrow's all we have left, so tonight I want you to sleep with me. I want to confirm those feelings. Physically. Yeah, what if you never get that chance again? This time I'm the one who flips over in bed. Yumiko's trembling slightly. Even from behind, it's obvious she's forcing herself to be brave. First, I gently place a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Understood, just promise me one thing first. Promise me you won't think of this as the last time. We're going to be together for the rest of our lives, alright? That's a promise. Don't even let yourself think otherwise. Yumiko's back shivers again, just a little. She sniffles once before responding. I think I'll pretend not to notice the hint of suppressed tears in her voice. Letting the tension drain from her body, Yumiko yields herself to me. Don't hold back. Make me forget everything else. Works for me. With a nod, I slid my arms around her. Even after we've confirmed our mutual feelings, Yumiko and I continue talking for a long time. She seems less uncertain than before. Her voice has regained something of its usual calm. I've been thinking about that man. I've hated that man for a very long time. I still hate him even now. But it's almost frightening how little I actually know about him. From what Yumiko says, the man known as Sakaki Michiyaki doesn't enjoy discussing his past in any detail. Any reader of economic magazines or websites can find an outline of his impressive academic background and personal accomplishments. But there's virtually nothing on his personal aspects of life. Even the sexual scandals Yumiko described have been largely scrubbed from the narrative. For so little to be known about such a public figure, suggests a concentrated effort to scare off or manipulate the media. All I found is a loose sketch of the man's personality repeated again and again. For the sake of expanding his corporate empire, Sakaki Michiyaki will do absolutely anything. Wonder if something happened when I was younger. Human beings are shaped by their childhood experiences more than anything else. Even Yumiko doesn't know much about that part of her father's life, but there must have been something that made him into the ruthless obsessive he is today. I believe in you, Yuji, but that man still frightens me. We'll be alright, won't we? Of course, rest assured. And then stroke her cheek. After a few minutes, after her trembling finally dies down, a peaceful drowsiness settles over us both. You're here. Yes, not that I want to be, but I was told there's something of an emergency. I've been informed of the situation. That washed-up child soldier of yours actually had the nerve to threaten me. He demanded I personally visit that godforsaken city tomorrow morning to negotiate. Must apologize yet again for the actions of my former subordinate. I'll proceed to the site immediately and attempt to negotiate. You can spare me the song and dance, Haradera-san. As I've repeatedly stated, I'm not involved in the kidnapping of your daughter in any way. You intend to play dumb until the bitter end, eh? Well, no matter. For the time being, you're going to sit in the corner and behave yourself until the matter's resolved. Do it. Yes. President Sakaki, what is the meaning of this? You have no right to restrain me. This is an unjustified act of aggression against our... I have your superior's authorization, of course. Officially been invited to spend the night here. Feel free to say anything you want after the fact. I'll make sure no one listens. I don't know what you people are planning, but I can't allow the Sakaki family's ambitions to be crushed by a petty rebellion like this. I'll eliminate that soldier brat and take Yumiko back whether you like it or not. Unfortunately, sir, I don't have the slightest idea what you're talking about. You military types really are admirably loyal to your missions. It's unfortunate that attitude didn't rub off on your subordinate. The woman might try to contact them somehow. Toss her in a basement where she won't get any reception. Consider yourself lucky. At least you'll be going home alive when this is over. That man would no doubt have been a great deal more thorough. By the time the morning light against my eyelids wakes me, Yumiko's already gotten out of bed and dressed herself. Noticing me stir, she turns back to face the bed. Her voice is clear and dignified. There's no hint of the weakness or fear from it last night. It sounds as though she steeled herself for what's coming. Yeah, morning. I roll out of bed and quickly begin my own preparations. A little while later, everyone's gathered in the lobby just as we arranged yesterday evening. There's 1 hour before our appointment with Michiyaki. Time we'll use to make a few final preparations. Makina, did you get the back door barricaded? Sachin and I fortified it real good. Even if an intruder should break in by force, we'll know immediately. This isn't going to be a siege battle, but it never hurts to cover all your bases. Stay on your toes. How's it going on your end, Sachi? All's well so far. The extraordinary general meeting appears to have begun just as scheduled. At a glance, there's nothing odd visible from the video feed of the conference room she's monitoring. Now just wait for the villain to make his entrance. Forming my right hand to a fist, I slightly smack it into my left palm. And almost as if someone's taking their cue, the sound of running footsteps approaches from the outside of the dorm. They're here! A whole lot of people just showed up! Alright then, we'll be going. Yumiko, who had been sitting on the sofa in silence throughout our meeting, rises gallantly to her feet. As the others watch with concern in their eyes, she slowly opens the door and heads outside. I follow quietly in her wake. An extraordinary spectacle greets us. Specifically, it's an absolute swarm of jet black cars. Reminiscent of that parent-teacher conference visit. but on a far greater scale, I count more than 10 vehicles at a glance. Hard-faced men in black suits who could easily pass for gangsters form a solid row in front of their cars. The dorm's entirely surrounded. The unbroken ring of vehicles and men stretches around the building at a distance of maybe 10 meters. Clearly not interested in letting us get away this time. Probably only natural given his long pursuit and the insult I delivered last night. But above all else, I think this display of force is the product of Sakaki Michiaki's sheer stubborn tenacity. The rear door of the car stopped directly in front of us swings open with extremely deliberate movements. A single man emerges. A slender, graying man dressed in a conservative charcoal suit. His glare is sharp as a knife and significantly less friendly. It's Yumiko's father, Sakaki Michiaki. You're actually here. Rather foolhardy of you, I must say. The first words out of his mouth are a toneless expression of surprise. As he looks over his daughter, the corners of Michiaki's mouth jerk up slightly into something resembling a smirk. Is it just my imagination, or do you feel lost a little weight? But then again, it was repeatedly assaulted, nearly shipped overseas, and then chased by thugs for a good year. I expect that had something to do with it. Not that you appreciate it was all for your own good, clearly, but I suppose it hardly matters. Michiaki's scornful expression gives way with disconcerting smoothness to a gentle smile. Still willing to forgive you for the moment. Come back to me voluntarily and I'll show you mercy. I'll show mercy to that man of yours. Cry and beg for my forgiveness. Tell Dad how very sorry you are, that's all I'm asking. I'll apologize right this instant, and you have my word this will end peacefully. That's a lie. You can't trust your own father? My father? I haven't thought of you as a father in years. Not since the day I learned what you really are. Her teeth grinding audibly, she squeezes spiteful words out of her throat and fires them at Michiaki like arrows. I'm not standing in front of you today because I want to play the role of your daughter again, much less to cry and beg for your forgiveness. Then why are you here? For just a moment, the disgust of wind hides Michiaki from view, and when he appears again, Yumiko's tightly pursed lips open. To cut myself free of you. Michiaki doesn't even flinch, but Yumiko presses on regardless. Her eyes slightly downcast, letting the anger she's kept inside flow freely out of her. I was always alone, abandoned by you, living an utterly empty life, suddenly brought back, only to be betrayed. Family was all but a foreign concept to me. Then you threw me into the school like some kind of prisoner. I didn't talk with anyone, I didn't think about anything. I simply existed, isolated and numb, however. Never seen such a peaceful smile on her face before. There were other people bearing similar wounds here. It was very hard at first, but little by little I started to speak again. And Yuji came along. He taught me a great deal. He helped me become a human being. With a flutter of her hair, she sends back to face Michiaki once more. And still, you tried to take even that away. It wasn't enough for you to barrage me with hollow lies. You wouldn't allow me to keep the things they gave me. But I won't let you manipulate me anymore. I'll talk with my own mouth and move my own limbs. I won't be reduced to your puppet. You've broken so many things, destroyed so many people. You didn't just betray my mother, you tore her apart. An emotionless machine like you has no right to call itself my father. That's more than enough out of you. A harsh bellow cuts through the air. For a moment, Yumiko flinches back. What would a child like you understand? Michiaki takes a firm step towards us. He speaks in a voice so low it seems to rise up from the ground underneath his leather shoes. I will not allow the mighty E-speech troop I inherited from my father to fall apart because of one selfish little girl. We'll seize every worthless little company on our way and gather an army of pawns. We won't stop growing until we can buy the country itself. That was my father's dream, and I'm the same man he was. My father made me his puppet. He put his own spirit inside a younger vessel, protecting his enterprise from the depredations of time. I'll follow in his footsteps. I'll shape you into an even finer vessel. The thing standing in front of Yumiko right now isn't a human being. It's the incarnation of an ambition handed down through the decades. A company in the shape of a man trying to swallow her into itself. Weighed against that grand purpose, the individual will is utterly worthless. You can lecture me all you want about what really matters, but none of it means a thing to me. I knew it. You're not even human. Another sheltered little girl wants to tell me what humanity is? I'm sick of it. Your mother was just as soft. Hardly surprising she just fell apart instead of accepting reality. Don't talk about her like that. You're the one who made it all happen. The one was too close-minded to accept a minor personal concession for the sake of the company. I don't see any reason that should trouble my conscience. I see it really was all a lie. This is a waste of time. I'll use force if I have to, but I prefer not to be rough. Get in the car. As Michiaki extends his hand, Yumiko draws back a step in refusal. The next words out of her mouth are delivered in a voice as cold as ice. You're finished. Excuse me? You don't understand why Yuji called you here today, why it had to be today in particular. A moment later he answers, today. So you people had a hand in that after all. That's right, I'm talking about the extraordinary general meeting of the East Beach Holding shareholders. If the resolution to remove you from the board passes, you'll no longer be president of East Beach. That grand purpose you expected me to carry out as your puppet will be crushed completely. There's no anger, no surprise, no scorn or fear. His face is simply blank, and somehow that indifference is more intimidating than any emotion could have been. Finally, a dry, rattling chuckle emerges from his throat. What's so funny? That's good, Yumiko. Very good. So you've been learning a little about the world, have you? That experience will be very valuable. Really, I never expected you to begin your studies all on your own. Clapping his hands together with easy confidence, Michiaki responds as if genuinely pleased by the situation. There isn't the slightest hint of anxiety in his cold, amused eyes. How long are you going to keep blustering? Take a look at the reality before you. Don't throw words like that around until you know they're true. I'd recommend double-checking that reality of yours. Sachi is just lowering a cell phone from her ear, her face a ghastly shade of white. There was just a message from Amane-san. It seems nobody's standing up in support of this resolution. That can't be. No way, but they all said they'd support it. So quiet in there all of a sudden. Almost like they were planning this all along. Isn't this really bad? Hold on, isn't this really bad? This resolution has to pass, right? Can't you get in touch with them, Amane? Not possible. It's not like we're talking directly to these people, you know? We said at the agreement through a really complicated indirect route, so we have to send any message the same way. We're just gonna sit here and watch? What else can we do? You gotta be kidding. I was quite aware you and that Ichigaya woman were plotting to stir up the opposition faction. I was a bit curious to see how far you managed to take this little children's revolution of yours. But it seems you're a quicker study than I thought. Once we straighten you out and get you attending a proper school, I think it'll become quite useful in no time. As Yumiko bites down on her lip in frustration, Michiaki takes another step forward, his stride even larger and bolder than before. It's well and truly over now. I suggest you resign yourself to a life dancing on my strings, Yumiko. No! Once you accept reality, I know. Perhaps I'll permit you to keep that washed-up soldier brat over there as a sexual outlet? But of course, I'll have to strip him of every shred of human dignity first. I'll never let you... Yumiko's still mounting her best attempt at resistance, but the momentum has shifted entirely in favor of her father. His face placid and composed, Michiaki takes another step forward. This time his cruel eyes flick over in my direction. Tell me how long you're planning to stand there. Don't you have anything to say? His tone of voice is light, teasing. Standing in the back while your woman does all the talking strikes me as a little more pathetic, young man. In strong contrast to her father's composure, Yumiko's voice twists with sorrow and fear. Without particularly reacting to either of them, I cock my head to the side and furrow my brow. That's funny. Do I hear a phone? Might as well go ahead and answer, for all the good it will do you. You won't have that cell phone much longer in any... Wrong. Does sound like a phone's ringing, but it's not mine. Somebody else must be getting the call. What on earth are you babbling about? For the first time, I meet his gaze with a powerful glare of my own. You still don't understand. It's your phone with a very important call. My phone? Dubiously, Michiaki reaches up for the pocket of his suit. Let's go, let's go. What's it gonna be? Come on. Come on, like, he's fired. Come on. Come on. The notice of a dismissal. Come on. Why did you know that? Know what? The instant his hand touches the softly buzzing cell phone, his bemused expression changes to one of pure surprise. Not important. You should probably answer right away. Take a look at who's calling. This had better be. Muttering complaints to himself, Michiaki glances down at the screen. His face stiffens instantly. Muramatsu? The Minister of Infrastructure? So the head of the CEO of the ministry with the 30% shares? So they decided they're pulling out, so... Yeah, if they pull out with like 30% shares invested in the company, then, well... That would mean, like, his company's value would just drop by 30% in one shot, right? So... That should scare the shit out of him if that works the way I think it does. He hurriedly presses the answer button, his attention now focused solely on the phone. The rest was no longer seen to even register. Is that you, Minister Muramatsu? This is Sakaki, sir. Certainly take your time answering your phone. I'm very sorry. We're currently in the middle of that general meeting I discussed with you earlier. I'm gonna keep this brief, alright? Circumstances have changed. I'm no longer able to support you. Sorry, but let's make this a dignified end to your presidency. What? Rest assured, we'll find you a suitable honorary position of some sort. You'll have to content yourself with that. That's not... What are you talking about, Minister? You really brushed up against something troublesome, didn't you? My sympathies. Wait, Muramatsu, please, what's going on? Amane-san, yes? The resolutions? Yes, understood. I'll inform them immediately. News from inside. The motion to dismiss the president has apparently passed. All the enterprises that had been playing wait and see switched approval one by one. In the end, we collected nearly 80% of the votes. Thought as much. Just how JB told me it would play out. Entirely on the other end of the emotional spectrum, Sakaki Michiaki stands before me in stunned, furious disbelief. It's hard to believe he's the same man who was so full of himself before that phone rang. Squeezing his cell phone with a quivering hand, he glares at me with an expression full of undisguised wrath. You people. Why is this? How could this possibly? Reminds me of Yumiko's reaction when I brought her here yesterday. The man simply can't process the situation he's in now. I'll explain. It's just as you said, no matter how much a group of children struggle, it's fundamentally ridiculous to imagine they could stage a large-scale corporate conflict. Convincing the opposition to move would have been nearly impossible unless people holding genuine power were leading the charge. However, there was one lever which could undoubtedly move even those deeply cautious men. An organization possessing tremendous influence and the largest stockholder in the East Beach Group. Once JB obtained a route to them through a certain connection of hers. So basically the 30% of their company just bailing on them. At that point, our victory was all but assured. They were the focus of our attention from the very start, because I'm sure you know, it never hurts to be doubly cautious in this sort of thing. That's why we attacked the problem from so many angles over the last year. After all, we were up against Sakaki Michiaki. If we spent all of our time messing with the Ministry of Infrastructure, I expected you would have catched on and devised a counter-strategy. JB's connection had overwhelming influence over the ministry, but Michiaki might have still managed to turn the tables on us if our movements were exposed in the early stages. We need to set the wheels in motion without tipping them off to our real plans until the very last moment. That was the objective of everything else. Therefore, we started building a pseudo-majority, knowing full well it would fall apart in the end. We let you see a bunch of children sniffing around, giving you a nice, easy target to undermine. Are you saying those suspicious movements inside the opposition were merely a feint? Exactly. This can't be. Michiaki's cell phone clatters to the ground. His head slumps over sagging shoulders. The arrogance from a few minutes ago has vanished without the slightest trace. So it's over. Just like that. By a bunch of children, for Christ's sake. I wagered my life, threw everything away, and now... Muttering reproachful words to no one particularly, drags himself back to his car and climbs slowly inside. Black-suited men surround the area, perhaps sensing their employer's defeat. hurriedly begin to withdraw. With the roar of a dozen engines, clouds of dust from many tires filled the air, as if to mark the conclusion of our battle. Mani bursts out of the door moments later. Maka and Michiru follow in her wake, their faces overflowing with joy. We knew that was gonna happen all along, Oni-chan. Oh, you knew that was gonna happen all along, Oni-chan? Yeah, sorry for startling you. Jeez, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. You could have told us you'd set up something like that. Indeed, I believe I lost several years off my lifespan when I heard that initial message. Considering how literal you are about everything, that must have really been one heck of a shock. With this, Sakaki sounds free and clear, right, Yuji? Yeah. Sorry about the drama, Yumi. Just like the others, Yumiko's face is filled with relief that our come from behind victory. Or so I'd imagine, but when I turn around I find something else entirely. Yumiko? Yumiko's turned her head in a different direction from the rest of us. No less still and quiet than before, she's gazing far off in the distance. Think you guys can head back inside before us? And then fix my eyes on Yumiko once more. Her face is fixed in the direction of the cars that disappeared. The eyes of Sakaki Michiaki's only daughter, quietly gazing after the man who stayed her bitter enemy. Until the very end. Yumiko. I call her name once more, but she doesn't move. Her expression doesn't change. She's not crying. Doesn't look like she's grieving. Her face is simply lonely. And then Yumiko still stands rooted to the spot. As I watch her from behind, I hear the cry of a kite overhead like a shrill note on a flute. The small black bird of prey glides serenely past us, making its way to the ocean. Just like one I saw on the rooftop of this dorm once. It's a painfully normal summer scene. Almost as if someone's trying to remind us how small our struggles are, how insignificant our hatreds. Damn, we gotta be like almost finished at this point. Like, we gotta be like almost finished at this rate. Like, right? I mean, the conflict's now been resolved. Apparently, Yuji is. Yeah, I guess like stealing the Lamborghini and then the frozen turkey, using that to just disable an airplane wasn't enough for him. Even after that, like, I guess he decided like he wasn't enough of a badass. So over the entirety of a year, he was basically just plotting the motion to just have like this super powerful figure just demoted for presidency. And basically just setting up like a bunch of like teams just to basically distract him. Basically setting up like a shit ton of operations, a shit ton of smaller operations all over the place just to like keep him distracted. No matter how much power you hold, no matter how wise and widely respected you may be, there's one force you're completely powerless to resist. No one in the world's capable of stopping the flow of time. True, spend enough money and you can usually prolong your life a little, but that's hardly the same as stopping or reversing the relentless march of the years. Back in the old days, there were rulers who thought systems of hereditary inheritance could grant them dominion over time. But open any history book and you'll find plenty of proof that struggling in vain, that it was just another way of struggling in vain against the inevitable. Strict codes of law, beautiful writings, wise teachings. All these too eventually fade away. Still, there are always people who struggle against that oppressive rule, studying the failures of those who went before, and seeking immortality through lines or deeds. And there are those who live ephemerally in the moment, ignoring the current of time entirely. Perhaps that's a valid means of escape in its own right. But no matter what approach we take, we're all fighting a losing battle. Some few among the most determined and brilliant may manage to build a milestone. But compared to the vast and unending road itself, such monuments aren't particularly significant. Time's an absolute tyrant. Everyone's powerless to resist its might. However, if you look at it from another angle, time's also our supreme problem solver, the ultimate healer of wounds. Given enough time, a Gordian knot too tangled for human hands to undo will naturally slip apart and return to its original form. Through the passing of years, a hardened clump of stone that won't dissolve under water or melt in fire will just disintegrate all on its own. Time doesn't rule through fear alone. Like all that's truly absolute, it exerts its power indifferently over good and bad alike. Running my usual morning course, I breathe in and out of my usual steady rhythm. There's no hesitation in my movements. I could run this route in my sleep by now, I'm not bothering to measure anything, but my heartbeat and calorie burn are probably the exact same as they were yesterday. From a long-term perspective, it'll probably only be a few years before my current peak physical condition gives way to a slow, gradual curve of decline. But looking back over the last few years, my specs have stayed exceptionally consistent and never been negligent in keeping myself ready for emergencies of any kind. My master really beat the lesson to me, I guess. Running comes so naturally to me now, it's very easy to detach my mind from the movements of my body, often finding myself thinking over all sorts of things. My master was a great believer in staying on your toes, preparing for the extraordinary in the most ordinary of times. Always think ahead, always stay prepared, always follow your routine. In the course of my monotonous daily training, there were times when everything seemed so calm I couldn't help but doubt the importance of all that. But I plunged abruptly into crisis often enough to recognize that peace-addled complacency for what it is. Even just over the last year, this sort of readiness proved immeasurably important. Still, I really like things to stay relatively peaceful for a while. Trying to drive a subtle shadow of unease from my mind, to focus on carrying out my comfortingly familiar peacetime training. It's been 2 months since we returned to this place, and in reality, nothing too dramatic has happened in that time. Even compared to the peaceful time I spent here before, nothing's really... well, no. I suppose there have been a few minor changes to the previous routine. I'm back! For one thing, I've started consistently saying this phrase immediately after returning to the dorm. There were occasions when I said those words before, but it was a pretty uncommon event. Reserved for when somebody happened to be in the lobby when I opened the door. But now I've got a reason to announce my return every single time. Namely, there's always a certain someone here to say those words to. Sorry about slipping out. I was a little worried you might not be getting enough sleep waking up at the same hour as me. Thanks. Taking the towel from Yumiko, I abruptly scrubbed the sweat off my face. And when I look up again, an attractive young woman standing very close to me with a distinctly wistful expression on her face. Slightly exasperated, I heave a quiet sigh. Look, Yumiko, I think we've been over this before. I know, okay? Waving her hands in the air, she interrupts my earnest warning in a flustered tone of voice. This is a public space. That sort of thing can wait until we're back in the room. That's what you want to say, right? That's right. Glad to see you got the message after all. So I'll just make do with a little hug for now. Look, woman. Is this seriously the same person who used to swing a box cutter at me every time we met? Turning her blushing face slightly away, she flutters brief glances in my direction. The only thing I'll say is to the girl herself, and it's not far from the sort of come-hither look you get from pros in a red light district. I mean, yes, I do understand this is the product of sincere affection, but seriously, when the girl's this blatant about it, it's hard not to get suspicious. Something Malka told me once comes to mind. To wit, women of the Kuderi tribe are a pain in the ass. They're not used to showing affection. So once they do go sweet, they'll give everyone in the 3-mile radius cavities. That said, giving her the cold shoulder would just be making more trouble for myself in the long run. Just yesterday, I tried brushing off Yumiko's excessive demands for public displays of affection. She retaliated with hours of sulky, reproachful glaring. Still falls well into the cute category, but the effort involved in smoothing her feathers after the fact only amplifies the pain in the ass factor. And so I decided to give in to her demands like the hopeless sap I am. Fine, here we go. Pulling Yumiko over to me, I embrace her lightly at arm's length. I did wipe myself down a little with the towel, but I'm still just back from exercising. Can't exactly go for the bear hug. Yushi. As if to say the hell with your thoughtfulness, the woman dives forward and nuzzles her pretty face against my chest. Already in heat, first thing in the damn morning. I think you're aware, but I kinda stink right now. Don't cling to me like that. It's alright. I like the way you smell, Yuji. It's so manly. Yeah, basically both starting and kind of just ending with, I like the way you smell. It's like so manly. Yeah, first like Amani was getting herself like lost in Yuji's man smell, and now it's Yumiko doing it at the end of this whole playthrough that I started almost fucking 3 years ago. If your past self could see you now, she'd probably break down in tears. Oh, if anything, I think she might weep from sheer joy. Hey, don't squirm around. Hold still. Honestly. Hey, Yumiko. Charming as it is to watch you get drunk off my body, I think it's time for you to back off now. I just never get sick of touching this nice thick chest. You're always crushing me under this. Well, I don't personally mind if you want to continue grunting in satisfaction while fondling my pecs, but I recommend taking a look behind you first. What? I like the way you smell, Yuji. Wow, life is just full of surprises, isn't it? Never imagined we'd be getting a show like this on a daily basis. Such a vast scope of possibilities dwell within us all. It seems Michiru-sama isn't the only one capable of broadening my horizons. Truly, every day in this dormitory brings new discoveries. Makina trots energetically up to Yumiko, currently frozen solid. The intensity of her grin is genuinely unpleasant. Got your water boiling thinking about any chance naked body, didn't ya? But here's the thing, when you do this sort of stuff in the morning, you're pretty much announcing how things went last night. Maybe try to keep it in your pants, huh? Thumping Yumiko's shoulders in the companionable way, she barrages her with merciless words. The young woman in question, her hands still frozen pitifully in the air where my chest had been, looks around the lobby like a high school drama student doing their best imitation of a robot. It's way too early for something that rich. Now I got heartburn. Let's get out of here, guys. Indeed, thanks for the treat, Sakaki-san. Try to at least maintain some basic standards of human dignity, okay, Yumiko? One by one, the others give the statue-stiff Yumiko a friendly slap on the shoulders and saunter off, mocking her. There's some real affection underneath those wry smiles, but also undeniably a good deal of exasperation mixed in as well. Hey Yumiko, you alright? I'm gonna guess no. I'm going to take that as a no. Yumiko, stunned speechless, lets out an anguished grunting moan of the sort I usually expect from Michiru. We've actually had more than a few incidents like this over the last 2 months, but today was exceptionally bad. Well, I tried to warn her. Maybe that'll be a bit of a lesson to the girl. Can only pray she'll finally cut down the public dairy somewhat. Earth to Yumiko? I'm going back to the room now, alright? By manipulating the Minister of Land, Transport and Infrastructure, we succeeded in removing Sakaki Michiaki from his role at the top of the East Beach Group, putting an end to his pursuit of Yumiko. The director we successfully raised up in an opposing power, essentially a puppet of the government, has already discontinued Michiaki's aggressive strategy and expansion in favor of a much more stable and low-risk style of management. The East Beach Group has shed its image as the Sakaki family's personal empire. With surprising speed, is being reformed into a very different kind of enterprise. Someday, people probably won't even remember that they were once mocked as bandits. As for Mahama Academy, it's going to be closing its doors. There are potential PR issues because of a connection to Michiaki's struggle with his daughter. And on a purely practical level, the new management took issue with the lavish, inefficient spending that defined Mahama's administration. They did explore restoring it as a more conventional school, but given the location of circumstances, yada yada, it had to be simply abandoned. Yeah, if this is like out in the middle of nowhere, then like... Yeah, such a massive this looks like such a massive building, come to think of it. That basically, as far as I know, only ever had a maximum of 6 students in it. Yeah, that's what I call inefficient spending. A building this huge for like 6 students. Then again, from beginning to end, the school never had more than 6 students. Yeah. Putting aside the facilities and funding, once that framework changed, Mihama would have just stopped being what it was. In exchange for the academy's closure, the dormitory was allowed to remain open in a different form. Without a school attached, it's become a simple apartment building. They entrusted the management to the former students for the time being, enabling us to continue our lives virtually the same as before. Everyone's using this place as a launch pad for the next stage of their lives. Amane will apparently be leaving to help out at her family's traditional restaurant with Makina once their preparations are in order. Sachi and Michiru are going to be transferring together to a boarding school the principal recommended. However, even if we all end up leaving this place behind, we made plans to periodically meet up again. The 6 of us may have been born in different places, but in a way, we all feel as if we grew up here. Although we've regained our familiar daily life. Little by little, things are starting to change. And Yumiko is certainly no exception. After dramatically transforming her world, she's trying to adapt herself to a whole new routine. Thanks for helping with breakfast. Not gonna lie, I'm definitely a little sad about hearing the academy closing down, though. Given the circumstances, like, why it was even there in the first place. I mean, like, what can he really do at that academy anymore? I mean, like, either way, like, Yumiko was gonna get, like, shipped off to America somewhere, so... There really wouldn't have been much of a point in keeping the place open, like, if Yumiko was shipped off, so... Yeah, let's just say if Michiaki, like, actually, like, got his way, the academy still probably could have been closed, most likely anyways, I could imagine. Even if he managed to get his way. And Yumiko just had to basically become an extension of the company, basically just become, like, another, like, of him. And, yeah, like, Michiaki was basically, like, his father. Eating my meals around this table with Yumiko already feels completely natural. Today we've got grilled salmon, boiled greens, and soy sauce I made, with soup and rice courtesy of Yumiko. Looks like we've gotten the hang of miso soup now. Really? Why would I lie now? It's really good. Thank goodness, I'm happy to hear that. Her eyes full of relief, Yumiko favors me with a sincere smile. Since we started living together in my room, the girls gradually eased their way into cooking. At first she was burning pans more often than cooking food, but under the strict tutelage of Madame Suo Amane, she's finally learned how to make miso and other simple soups. You're learning boiled food next, right? Amane was pretty enthusiastic. Sounds like she enjoys teaching you. Amane gets a little scary when she's teaching. I can't help but feel there's some ulterior motive there. Soon we've finally gotten friendly enough to use each other's first names, so I guess that lingering tinge of jealousy isn't anything to be worried about. Amane's just playing around for the most part, but since I'm clearly part of the issue, I can't exactly stick my head in either way. Seeking a change of subject, I reach out for my rice bowl. Looks like you got the rice just right, too. What's wrong? You're not eating. Sorry, it's nothing. Morning light flows in softly through the window. The faint touch of sun on her skin makes Yumiko's smile seem almost eerily gentle. Still a little hard to believe, even now. I mean, every day's so fun. I made friends with the others, and even living with you. This never would have been possible the way I was before. Before, Yumiko was always alone. The girl absolutely didn't choose that solitude. She always longed to have someone on her side, and many times, she tried to convince herself there would be. Those hopes were betrayed again and again. Yumiko plunged into despair, gave up on connecting with others, and hid herself from the world. But after she came to this dorm, her walls slowly began to crumble. But then Yumiko warmed up to her classmates. She fell in love with me, and her solitude finally came to an end. Considering the way she used to be, it's not surprising she found all this a little hard to believe. Thank you, Yuji. Yeah, I'm happy for you, Yumiko. That smile's coming from the heart. Yumiko looks so genuinely content, like someone who's gotten everything they ever wanted. But when the girl talks about how happy she is, sometimes I see a very slight shadow fall across her face. Although it's speculation, I think I know why. Through our trap, Sakaki Michiaki lost everything he had built in a single day. Tripped up by the willful daughter he wanted to manipulate like his puppet, the man vanished in defeat. The supremely arrogant emperor who stepped out of the car that day left a crushed and broken man. Those deeply contrasting images are still crystal clear in my memory. And for Yumiko, his daughter, that must have left a far stronger impression on her. Yeah, I see. There wasn't just hatred in her eyes as she quietly watched her father disappear. I'm sure many complex emotions were running through her mind. Following that incident, Sakaki Michiaki essentially abandoned both his personal and professional life. So, abandon his personal and professional life. So, in what sense? Almost kind of like makes it sound like, if you just read this a certain way, like he took his own life. The mass media he previously muzzled through force briefly latched onto their dramatic overthrow entire storyline, but their interest died out. By now, the man's already becoming part of the past. Michiaki still got a 10% stake in the group, along with a new honorary position, so he shouldn't exactly be starving. Still, he's been lying low to the point that's almost unsettling. Sometimes I can't help but wondering if he's lurking in the shadows somewhere, steadily plotting revenge and working towards a comeback. But that hypothesis doesn't really stand up to scrutiny. I couldn't see any hint of spirit in the hollowed-out shell of a man who climbed back into his car that day. And judging from the way she watched him go, Yumiko probably sensed something similar. Her father had been the focus of all her hatred for years. He was the ruthless creature who chained her down, but underneath his armor, he was just one incredibly frail human being, every bit as weak as Yumiko herself once was. Watching her father stripped naked and chased from his place in the world, the girl no doubt felt a painful twinge of recognition and empathy. To survive, to carve out her own place in the world, there was no choice but to overthrow him. Doesn't mean it left an entirely pleasant taste in her mouth. Yumiko? Again, there's that hint of listlessness in her expression. Even when Yumiko's acting cheerful, I can't help but pick out those slight signs of fraying at the seams. You keep stopping your chopsticks. I've been refraining from asking Yumiko about this. I want to know what you're thinking about. Moving smoothly around the table, I push her down to the floor. We got interrupted halfway through, didn't we? Maybe you wanted something like this? That's not... Well, maybe so, but... So I covered up with a white lie, and Yumiko, for her part, accepts that lie. No way, this is too sudden and it's still bright outside. Her words are hesitant, but her fingers twine through mine. As if to request the next step, her entire palm squirms, coquettishly in my grasp. Your aunt seemed to have a different opinion. I'm not sure who to believe. Stop teasing me. Seems like she wasn't really rejecting me. I leaned down and pressed my lips against hers, pretending not to notice the wounds on each other's backs. We run our hands across the undamaged surface alone, seeking comfort. I know we'll have to treat those wounds eventually, but right now we need time. We need this. Yumiko hasn't had real peace for practically her entire life. At the very least, I want to give her a chance to think. Suddenly, shrill electronic music fills the air. Sounds more like a cell phone ringing. Oh, right. Sorry about that. Hold on a second. Oh, it's the lawyer. And then presses the answer button. Hello. Thank you very much for your help the other day. Yumiko recently hired a lawyer to sort through the legal issues involved with our situation. He's also helping make arrangements for managing the Sakaki family's property, now that Michiaki's all but fallen off the face of the earth. The family affairs are understandably chaotic at the moment, so it's a lot for Yumiko to handle on her own. Still, she's been diligently negotiating, selling off what needs to be sold and trying to keep things from falling apart. I assume this phone call is another update on their progress. With the peaceful conversation, I was expecting changes dramatically with a small cry of surprise from Yumiko. The calm look on her face seems to give way to a grim and severe expression. Michiaki took his own life? Yes, I understand. Then I'll come by tomorrow for more detailed. Yes. Well, we have no idea if Michiaki took his own life. It was just like a spur-of-the-moment guess. I mean, like, it would make sense if he did. I wouldn't be, like, too surprised if that's what ends up happening after, like, all the events that transpired. Did something happen? That man. That man. There's only one there's nothing in the phrase that suggests Yumiko's talking about a relative, but there's only one person she refers to that way. That man seems to have transferred everything to me. Everything? Confusion in her eyes, Yumiko nods shortly. All of his stock. He's given me every last share. Sakaki Michiaki did? She doesn't respond, she just gazes intently down at her phone, complex emotions flitting across her face. Almost as if the man in question was standing in front of her. It's the same expression that was on her face 2 months ago as she watched her father disappear. An expression of loneliness, anger, and profound sorrow. 3 years later. The muted murmur of a television echoes through the spacious room. There's no other sound to be heard. Half submerged in a plush sofa, I abruptly opened my eyes at the sound of a voice on the television. It's a very familiar voice, one I've been hearing on a daily basis for a long time now. Must have nodded off halfway through. I moved my eyes back to the enormous LCD screen mounted on the wall. Yumiko, wearing a tailored professional suit and a resolute expression, listens carefully to her interviewer's question and offers a precise response. That was a pretty nostalgic dream just now. Maybe it's because I spoke with Amane on the phone the other day, but I dreamed of our time in Mihama Academy. I find my mind running back over the events that turned Yumiko into the public figure she is today. When Sakaki Michiaki transferred all of his stock in the East Beach group to her, Yumiko thought long and hard about what to do with it all. She even considered selling it and said donating the proceeds to charity. It was in some sense tainted money, and more importantly, slightly less than 10% of that company still amounted to an astronomical sum of money. Yumiko wanted to live a peaceful life on her own terms, and she knew that kind of money would change everything. But after much agonizing, she ultimately decided to accept it. And then, while using her newfound wealth to attend the top-flight university, she started up her own company, one that's proven wildly successful. Right now, it's becoming increasingly frequent for her to appear in the media as an exemplary young entrepreneur. As to why Yumiko voluntarily entered the same corporate world that tied her down for so long, I've never asked her point blank. Yeah. Yeah, now that you're really making me think about it. Huh? I mean, like, wasn't basically all of Yumiko's suffering just caused by, like, corporate greed from this, like, selfish as fuck businessman? Yeah, like, this selfish, like, business that basically, like, shed all of its humanity just with the sole purpose of it just expanding as much as it could, expanding its profits, its operations. That was basically like fucking all the reason Yumiko was so miserable. Yeah, her father didn't give two shits about her because she was a girl. Well, at first. And then tried to, like, still just force her into the business anyways. Against her will. So yeah, I'm definitely having a hard time just, like, digesting the fact that Yumiko herself becoming, like, this entrepreneur / businesswoman. But I do have the feeling it's got something to do with the open wound she's been ignoring for the last 3 years. Probably the same reason she didn't sell off this house. Despite all the bad memories it must hold for her, we're living here together now. Holy shit. Living in the same house that she grew up miserable in? With, like, the very man who was basically just manipulating her. Basically just broke Yumiko's mother so badly, like, she couldn't remember anyone? Yeah, this is literally like the same place she grew up in. Well, it wasn't here, it was like at the school that she was like attending while she was living here that she just basically lost and just stabbed a classmate in the hand. Yeah, despite all the bad memories it holds for some weird reason, I just can't seem to understand. We're living here together now. Guess there comes a point when avoidance doesn't make your scars ache any less. My other cell phone begins to ring for the first time in 3 years. And then I hit the answer button. Been a while. JB, it's been a while for sure. There's a moment of silence, but in that time, many unspoken words passed between us. Although I was officially reprimanded after the incident 3 years ago. A certain influential force in Ichigai's upper echelons shielded me from the more serious charges and arranged for my reinstatement on the reserve. That said, I was no longer interested in returning to my previous workplace, as supporting Yumiko became my first and foremost priority. I took my chance to formally resign. Naturally, this led to an estrangement from JB. Only one thing I've asked of her at the end. It was a job better suited to a detective agency than a professional of her caliber, but I asked anyway. Fully aware of my selfishness. JB accepted that strange request. Felt like she also had some loose end to tie up herself. This is about the last favor you asked of me 3 years ago. I've learned something. I already knew the reason she was making this phone call. It means she's found some sort of answer to that odd request I made of her. There's no longer any other reason for JB to contact me. I see, thank you, Julia. Just to be clear, you might not be in for too much of a happy ending here. I still want to know. Okay, then. As the trees outside sway in the wind, the muted sound of rustling foliage carries through the otherwise silent room. After ending the call with JB, I tuck the black cell phone away and take out the one I normally use. The call history is filled with almost entirely a single number. Clicking on it, I bring the phone to my ear. This is a rare occasion. It's not often you're the one to propose an outing, Yuji. Yumiko and I walk leisurely down the road leading to the station. She's got a lot on her plate at work right now, but the moment I called, she managed to open her schedule. Something I want to talk about. Sorry about dragging you out. Don't mind, but it's been a while since we did manage something like this after all. Yumiko smiles happily. I haven't told her the real reason for this outing yet. That was a deliberate decision. I didn't want it to be weighing on her mind from the very start. Where are we going today? Slightly far off place, actually. But we're not really bringing anything. True, now that you mention it. Alright, where are they going? Back to the amusement park or something? Changing trains after a few stops, we make our way out of central Tokyo and head for the south part of the Kanto region. Colorful port cities flash by outside the windows. Eventually, these give way to peaceful-looking little valley towns, as vivid shades of green start to dominate the scenery. Yumiko grows progressively quieter. Train's heading straight for that place. We wouldn't be going there without a good reason. Our destination lies in a town where Yumiko spent the loneliest years of her childhood. By the time we're standing before the building itself, her expression's painfully tense. What's going on? It's a large general hospital at the outskirts of a sleepy country town. A hospital the two of us visited several times together. But there should be no longer any reason for us to come here. It's not like Mom's here anymore. I mean, even if she was, like... Also, like, there's just, like, another sense in which she's just not here. As in, like, she just doesn't even know who Yumiko or Yumiko's father or anyone else in her family even is anymore, so... Yeah, let's say if, like, Yumiko's mom was still physically alive in this building, like... I assume, like, her memory is still completely fucked to shit, so... Yeah, in a sense, like, she still wouldn't be, like, here, like... Literally has no clue who Yumiko is. Oh. Okay, so she's really not here anymore. Even if she was alive, still, like... She wouldn't, like, know, like, who anyone is. Yumiko's mother, Sakaki Misako, quietly passed away 2 years ago. After the usual formalities with her relatives, Yumiko told me she'd never be setting foot in this town again. There'd be too many sad memories in this place. Just being here was painful for her. I know it's hard coming back here, but there's something we can't talk about anywhere else. It has to be here? Yeah. We proceed slowly through the familiar hallways. After climbing the stairs, we make our way towards a private room in the very back, then come to a halt in front of the door. There's a certain person who's been visiting this place virtually every week since your mother's death. You know who I'm talking about, right? Looks as though a name's come to mind. I don't know why any more than you do, but it's a fact. That person's been coming here for years and begging the hospital staff not to breathe a word of those visits to anyone. Because he didn't want us to know. I know it'd be tough for you to meet him face to face all of a sudden, Yumiko. I'm planning to go in there and ask why he's doing this. Do you think you can wait outside and listen? We can head back home now if that's what you want. I'll promise you to never bring that person up again, but if there's still a bad taste lingering in your mouth, instead of trying to forget the past, how about we look for a way to accept that? You've known all along, haven't you? That's why I was never able to put that behind me. There must be countless memories running through Yumiko's head right now. Her empty childhood, the faint hope she found only to have it snatched away, the man who took everything away, her crushing solitude, the artificial cage where her heart slowly began to thaw. Her first act of real resistance, our escape. At the end of a long struggle, a confrontation with everything on the line, and the former usurper who had everything taken away from him. What does his daughter feel for him now? Hatred? Something else entirely? I can practically see the tangled ball of conflicting emotions wriggling inside her mind. Eventually, Yumiko raises her head. Her expression's firm and determined. I'll wait here and listen to what he has to say. I'm guessing it's gotta be your father. It's a hospital room with no occupant, dominated by an empty bed. The strong smell of the sun-faded old curtains overpowers the lingering scent of disinfectant still lingering in the air. At the side of the bed, a single man sitting in a folding chair, hands folded in front of him. You're right on time, but I suppose I shouldn't have expected any less from a military man. Not in that line of work anymore, but time passes quickly. Best to use it efficiently, wouldn't you say? Very true. Time certainly does fly. Sakaki Michiaki smiles stiffly as the words leave his mouth. His face carved with wrinkles looks like that of a much older man. I have to wonder, like, fucking how many years he must have aged just going through all the stress of literally losing fucking nearly everything he had. And then giving away the rest to his daughter. I guess just after, like, cutting his losses. It's been 3 years, hasn't it? Not that I remember your face particularly well. I remember yours very clearly. Seems to have changed pretty dramatically. What else can you expect from a man who's lost his reason to live? However sound the vessel of flesh and blood may be, when there's no will inside to animate it, human being is nothing but a worthless animal. A machine serving no purpose, but to consume food and excrete waste. His eyes, once gleaming with ravenous ambition, are dull and sunken. His mouth droops slackly as if his face can no longer support its own weight. There's not even a hint of the power and intensity that once defined this man. The last 3 years must have been a period of increasingly rapid decline. Sorrow seems to ooze from every pore of his body. What business do you have with a sad specimen like myself? Michiaki's voice implies a question here to laugh at a fallen man. I want to ask you something. What was driving you 3 years ago? No, what drove you for your entire adult life? Where did that ambition and greed come from? I couldn't help but feeling you were lost somehow, and might have even regret the path you took. That's why I've dragged you out here, so I can stick my nose into your business. What a ridiculous thing to ask of an infamous monster. I'm not going to say anything you'd like to hear. Perhaps this is an attempt at easing your conscience over taking everything away from me? Unfortunately, the third-rate scenario. I'll come back when you've worked out something more plausible. Tell me then, why have you been retracing the footsteps of your wife and child? Why do you? I had my superior do a little digging. You've been sighted in the vicinity of this hospital. The apartments Yumiko and I rented while we were on the run, and even at your wife's family home. My final request of JB was an investigation into Michiaki's current whereabouts and activities since his fall from power. Spent the last few years visiting every place his wife and daughter once lived, as if to vicariously experience their journey, and he did his best to keep us in the dark about it. Only a person who regrets their past would do something like that. If you'd really thrown everything aside, you wouldn't go out of your way to visit places with a connection to your family. That's why I finally decided to ask. Was that life really what you wanted? Or were you just chained to it by something beyond your control? I had a feeling knowing the answer might be better than letting it all fade away miserably into the past. That superior of yours never tires of giving me trouble, does she? Blame me for this one. I asked her. You're certainly a strange one. I know my share of busybodies, but this is just absurd. Michiaki had been leaning forward in his chair like a stooped old man. Abruptly reclines as though to stretch his back. His face pointed at the ceiling and lets out a very long sigh. Well, wasn't he like just ranting about like how his father made him to like the soulless husk he was? Basically with this sole desire to just secure more and more power and revenue for his company. Do you know how old I was when my father gave me my first lesson in the way of the prince? Alright, 5 years old? 9 years old. The man took a child from his games and began lecturing about money and the nature of society. Throughout Michiaki's childhood, there was a constantly rotating cast of women at his father Kojiro's side. The woman came and went one after the other, each calling herself his mother, offering him various forms of distorted love. And no matter like how they treated him, his father showed no interest whatsoever. On the other hand, Sakaki Kojiro was abnormally intrusive when it came to his son's studies and friendships. Perhaps it was because he once failed the Tokyo Imperial University examination himself, but he demanded superlative academic results from Michiaki, insisting he would tolerate nothing less than admission to our now national university. Any friends his son made at school were thoroughly investigated by detective agencies. When Michiaki failed to produce superb results, or showed the slightest signs of disobedience, his father would respond with violence. I was terrified of my home, returning from school with sheer agony. Desperate to escape his terror, Michiaki threw himself into his studies, ultimately passing the entrance exam for the nation's most prestigious university. This success extended to his personal life as he obediently acquitted himself with the gaudiest tears of high society. The more Michiaki met expectations, the more his father came to demand from him. Then that man, after entering college, said something he had never forgotten. He said, "You don't need a self. Become my puppet. Continue my work even after I'm gone." University didn't bring the freedom Michiaki had hoped for. Every step he took was decided by his father, under constant observation. He lived as nothing more than an extension of another man's will. He crushed my sense of self. He made me the perfect puppet. When the job was finally done, the man died, almost as if he'd been waiting for that moment. Michiaki turns his eyes towards the window. All that remained of me was a flawless copy of that man. I was convinced that imitating him in all things would bring me conquest and glory, so Yumiko's choices were simply incomprehensible to me. That's why you followed in her footsteps after losing everything? Not that I really expect to accomplish anything, but cling to the faint hope of at least understanding. I tried to retrace the life those two led. Did you find anything? He shakes his head. There was nothing there for me. My wife and daughter were simply gone. I couldn't speak to them, only stare at the void where they'd once been. And most terrible of all, doing so didn't even make me sad. Don't you see? I was raised to believe that all other humans were worthless trash, that women were tools, objects, toys. And I thought I could understand the emotion of familial love. Now, after all this time? Once again, Michiaki's gaze turns towards the ceiling. He's not shedding tears, but is wearing the expression of a crying man. The expression of a man painstakingly forcing his face to take on the contours of sorrow. I can't even feel regret. When you've known right, it's easy enough to see wrong for what it is. But when all you've known is violence and cruelty and misery, they're simply facts of your existence. By looking at the situation outside, you can understand you fall to the very bottom, and yet the grief and remorse just won't come. There's no emptier feeling. Sakaki Michiaki is mired in the depths of an extraordinary despair. No matter how he moves, no matter what he says, the smothering darkness all around doesn't so much as stir. It's the polar opposite of his daughter's suffering. Where Yumiko felt pain, this man knows only crushing numbness. Might be hard to swallow coming from a brat like me, but I can sort of understand your feelings. What? There was a time when I couldn't even grieve for the things I'd lost. About my misery, and my one small glimmer of hope. About the emptiness I felt when even that was snatched away from me. About the despair I endured again and again. Until my heart grew numb, until I couldn't even recognize it as despair. Wouldn't say I've completely recovered even now, but little by little I start to experience those feelings again. Do you know why? Can't say that I do. It's because of Yumiko. Having her in my life helped me regain something like normal human emotions. By protecting another human being, by sharing my life with them, I gained something in return. The impenetrable darkness inside of me was punctured with a few small rays of light. But if I hadn't met Yumiko, there's no doubt I'd still be wallowing in the same despair as this man. Need to be on my way, but tell me something first. What are you planning to do from now on? I haven't even thought about it. There's nothing left for me to do. Alright, in that case, I'm gonna make a request of you. Do whatever you want with the time you've got left, but don't give up on living. Why would you want me to? Don't take anything else away from Yumiko, whatever you think of yourself. She still sees you as her father. Goodbye. Those final words seem to have an effect on Michiaki. I've always turned my back and taken a few steps when I hear him rising to his feet.
Yumiko.
Make Yumiko. When I turn around, Michiaki's looking at me with the expression of a man who's just reached a firm conclusion.
Yumiko.
Please, make Yumiko happy. Don't let her end up like me. Give her a happy life as a human being. It's all I'll ever ask of you. My final request. Please. This isn't the hollow husk of a man I was speaking to a moment ago. It's not the broken puppet who told me he was nothing. At the end, Sakaki Michiaki stands before me as a father. Don't think I can accept that request. What?! Because someday you'll have to help make Yumiko happy as well. Yumiko couldn't possibly want that. The girl has no mother, no father. Because of me. Because I'm a puppet, not a man. And Yumiko is a woman who can grieve for a puppet. Weren't you listening? She dragged me up out of that same muck you're sinking in. Is that really? I wouldn't even be standing in this room otherwise. Yumiko's unhappiness wasn't the product of bitterness, much less a desire for revenge. It was something else entirely. That's why I came here, to show them a path toward accepting the past. That's not going to be your final request. I'll come see you again. Make sure you stick around till then. This time there's no call from behind. Yumiko's not standing in the hallway where I left her. But it doesn't take long for me to realize where she's gone. The weather's nice today, she has to be there. Probably up on the roof. It's gotta be up on the roof. It's like the first thing that really comes to mind when I'm thinking about like Yumiko's tragic past at the hospital and like Yumiko's gone somewhere. A slender milepost marking the spot where it all began and the spot where it's going to end. Her white skirt and long black hair dance in the air as I slowly approach. Wrapping my arms around that slim body from behind, I embrace it tightly. Yumiko must have realized I was approaching. Without flinching or turning around, she reaches up to grasp on my hand. Shoulders trembling softly, she lets her tears spill freely down at my arm. Thank you for taking me here, Yushi. Thank you so much. Affectionately stroking my hand, Yumiko thanks me again and again. The wind gusts strongly past us. We accepted head on, as deeply as a deeply rooted tree. Never heard of that game. I have a request for you, Yuji. Will you hear me out? I want to teach my father. I want to teach Dad how to find himself, just like you taught me. She chokes up repeatedly as the words leave her mouth, and yet her voice seems strong and firm. It's going to take a while, you know. Sakaki Michiaki has many, many empty years behind them. Filling that massive void won't be a small project, or an easy one. I'll be fine. After all, I'm not alone. Her hand squeezes fiercely down on mine, so I'll be fine. I nod and squeeze back. The words I spoke to Michiaki were my honest feelings. It's only because of Yumiko that I'm here today. I owe her everything. Alright, let's teach him together. With that, Yumiko files silent once more. Grasping my hand, she gazes up into the sky and lets the wind break against her body. Beautiful summer clouds drift by far overhead. The sky Yumiko watched before was always a lonely place. The vault of blue is a symbol of nothingness. A reflection of the emptiness below. But right now, I think she's seeing something very different up there. Okay, and suddenly we're at JB's office again. Oh, Kiara's, I guess. We're not there, Kiara's there. That's right. Very well, let's hear it. The hostile faction tied to the East Beach Railways group has essentially been eliminated. With the sudden death of Major General Kadoma, the ringleader, their strength and influence has steadily declined. Something about war funds and organized crime? What about Sakaki Michiaki's movements? There are signs of significant emotional breakdown following his fall from power. But thanks to support the support of his daughter. He seems to be making something of a recovery. It's probably safe to say he won't pursue any reckless attempts at revenge. The man really should have contented himself to expand his power in a way that didn't threaten the national interests. Once the wrong people found out about what he was trying to pull, his fate was all but sealed. Kodama was certainly a bit of a fool himself. He could have very well ended up a member of the Diet if he just kept his head down, but instead that ridiculous midlife crisis led him straight to an untimely natural death. As for Konoma's successor, it seems Colonel Uchida will be receiving the promotion. That harmless old man seems like a nice safe choice. A pointless middle management job like that is best occupied by a rubber stamp in human form. When it comes to this workplace in particular, an utter lack of ambition is ideal. In other words, this played out exactly how the higher-ups wanted. Everything and everyone was in the palm of their hand from start to finish, including those children who actually confronted Sakaki Michiyaki and us. It's too bad about 9029, isn't it? We couldn't manage to keep him on board. What can you do? He's a wife and child these days. Can't expect him to go putting himself on the line anymore. It was the right time. Is there some reason you're staring at my face? You look lonely, Chief. Kindly spare me the psychoanalysis, Kiara. Go make a pot of coffee. Of course. Goodbye, Yuji. 5 years later. I'm guessing the same riverbank that the two of them just, yeah, where Yumiko used to just go and like draw the sky, or sometimes I guess also like the scenery in front of her. Pulled along by a small hand. I walk down a gently curving road at the side of a familiar river. I have to bend over a little to match the height of my companion. Moving on an awkward trot, I do my best to keep up. Daddy, you're slow. Gonna move on. Maybe you could slow down instead, Yuma. Hurry up or we'll run out of sun. My entreaty, delivered with a loop-sided half-smile, is shot down instantly. As Yuma hauls me forward with renewed vigor, I hear a quiet giggle from behind us. Look, Yumiko, can you stop laughing and say something to the kid? Ignoring this request entirely, Yumiko smiles over at us. One of her hands is occupied with a picnic basket, and the other with a bag full of painting materials. She watches her husband and only daughter run noisily. Okay, so... her husband and only daughter. Okay, so in one ending they have a son, and the other they have a daughter? I'm guessing, like, there's gotta be some sort of significance for, like, the kid being a boy in, like, one ending, and then the kid being a girl in the other? I mean, I was thinking maybe, like, this was their son, but apparently Yuma's their daughter, not their son. I mean, I thought Yuma was, like, a boy's name because, I mean, I actually didn't really even see, like, that many episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. I mean, I still, like, somewhat know the character who's, quote-unquote, feeling the flow. Yeah, I didn't, like, see that much of Zexal. Here, Daddy, sit. Mommy goes here. With practiced movements, Yuma brushes away a little dirt and guides us to our seats on the grass. Then slips in between Yumiko's legs on her lap. Why don't you sit with me every once in a while? No way, your knees are all bony, Dad. Kicking her stubby legs in the air, Yuma turns her face away in rejection. Yumiko, of course, just watches and laughs. Typical. Pictures! I want to draw pictures! Looking back at her mother, Yuma makes her usual demand. Yumiko nods and retrieves a sketchbook from her bag. Coming here has become part of our normal routine. It's always the three of us. Yumiko, me, and our only child. Pretty much every weekend we're here performing a happy family number. Sweet enough that it'll likely nauseate any unfortunate observers. Come on, hold it more carefully. You'll get yourself dirty again, you know? It's just like getting dirty. You can just clean her up. Yumiko reaches down and makes Yuma shift the marker in her hand to a more normal grip. Okay, Chris, why are you asking if I've got a pencil? I mean, I have one here. But what does this pencil have to do with anything? Last week, the budding artist in question ended up defacing one of her favorite blouses as a result of that sloppy marker technique. With this energetic response, Yuma immediately switches back to her bizarre initial grip. Wait, the way she's holding that marker, though. Yeah, like this? I don't know if you can really see it well. Maybe if I just, like, hold my hand further away from the camera. Why can I vaguely remember, like, when I was really young, I would just write like this. Instead of actually holding the pencil with, like, more finesse. And thus just... Yeah, I used to, like, pretty, like, 99% sure I used to write like this as a kid myself as well. Just fucking making a fist and then basically just holding, like, my writing implement in that. Ah, yes. Smiling wryly, Yumiko takes her daughter's small hand in hers and shifts the marker again. Hard to believe it's the same hand that once came flying in my face in unthinking rejection. So Dad's finally leaving the hospital. Sounds like all the tests were good, I'm glad. Yumiko nods brightly. Just the other day, the doctor in charge of Michiaki's case granted approval for discharge from the hospital. Yumiko's years of steady, determined effort have finally been rewarded. Grandpa's getting out of the hospital? Good thing we had you around, Yuma. Why? In response to this innocent question, I just stroked her head. Yuma's cheerfulness provided more than enough warmth to thaw Michiaki's heart. These days, he's smiling like a good-natured old man every time his granddaughter walks into the room. I hope we can bring him here with us next time. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yuma, losing interest in the conversation, scribbles passionately away at her sketchbook. Gripping the marker firmly in her fist. Ah, yes. Even though, like, that's not really the way to write, like, stupid little me, like, didn't know any better, like, way back then. Yeah, little me was just, like, basically still trying to figure out how the world worked. All done! Looking up at me, she grins from ear to ear and points to the sketchbook. It's Dad. A mishmash of shapes that barely qualify as something like a face stare up at me from the sheet of paper. Sorry, Yumiko. Seems Yumiko might have taken after me instead of you on this front. Unable to find appropriate words of praise, I let out a fatherly sigh. We don't know that yet. She might be an amazing artist someday. Right, Yuma? This looks like you, Dad. We gotta do something about her sense of aesthetics, at least. And when her laughter dies down, Yumiko mumbles a few words to herself. I never thought this day would come, but I'm so happy it did. Stroking Yuma's head gently, she continues with 3 earnest words. Thank you, Yushi. Once there was only emptiness inside her. Yumiko rejected everything, avoided all communication, cut off the lines tying her to the world. Eventually, the passage of time softened her. Slowly, almost against her will, she began to form new connections, but at first, those bonds only inspired denial and guilt. Today, she's full to the brim with heartfelt gratitude. It flows out of her naturally as she breathes. Every thank you is nothing more or less than proof that Yumiko's embraced this world with open arms. That she's actively chosen to live in it. That's my line. Thank you, Yumiko. Right. After a long and painstaking search, we found happiness. Of course, it's a fragile thing with no constant form. We still have our struggles and our doubts. But it's not just the two of us anymore, there's something else for us to protect. Someone else to protect us both. The future we couldn't begin to imagine is slowly revealing its shape. I'm drawing Mommy next. I wonder what sort of face that's gonna be. In the sky we've drawn together is not a single speck of cloud. Yeah, I swear, every single time, like, this has happened where we got to see, like, this movie ending, every single time we got to see, like, the credits for any of the girls' roots, for some reason, like, it just shows up, like, I wouldn't say that's exactly black, but looks like it. Basically, it just shows up as a dark screen and you can't see anything from the credits. Yeah, every time the credits play, like, you can literally see nothing. Never figured out how to resolve it, and quite frankly... Yeah, I'm just thinking, quite frankly. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna be an issue if I ever play, like, one of the Grisaia sequels. Yeah, so I'm looking at the credits, and the cast, it literally includes just girl. Yeah, next to a bunch of actual, like, names of characters throughout the whole, like, visual novel. Like, one of them is just girl. I don't remember if there's a way to skip the credits, but quite frankly, I definitely don't mind listening to this music at all. Okay, I pressed escape and enter, nothing's skipping, so... Yumiko ending theme, holograph, so I'm guessing that's what's playing right now in the background? Oh, sweet! The sketch of... Yeah, there's the nice sketch of Yumiko smiling after having stabbed her classmate. That for some reason, like... I would have maybe thought that was Kurumi from Data Live, but for some reason just shorter hair if I didn't know that was Yumiko already. Ah, yes, where she just stabs her classmate in the hand and just starts laughing like a maniac, asking why they're not laughing along with her because of how funny everything is. And then there's Yuji on Sachi's, like, mini velo that he stole, and as far as we're concerned, like, Sachi never got that back. Ordered off a site called Wiggle, which apparently is for real. That's a real, like, British sporting goods store. Yeah, so once the credits are done, we're just going to, like, I guess, just look at the 100% completion of Fruit of Grisaia. Long, long overdue, by the way. Yeah, I went through Yumiko pretty fucking quickly, to be honest. Might have maybe spent about, like, 3 weeks, maximum, just from start to finish of Yumiko routes. Yeah, going to show you just how this was, like, long overdue. Huh? That sounds like some Dragon Ball knockoff on a Minecraft server. I don't know, it sounds like some, like, I don't know, some, like, Minecraft server that they're really into Dragon Ball Z. Ah, yes, and then we get to see, like, Yuji, his wife and child again. Yeah, and, like, one of the endings, their child's a boy, and then... Yeah, and then, like, in the second ending I saw, like, I guess for some reason... I don't know, I guess just... I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to just imagine the significance behind, like, in one ending, the child being a boy, and then in another, the child being a girl. I mean, given, like, Yumiko's backstory, how, like, most of her family just seemed to, like, basically have it out for her, just really, like, not like her being around because she was a girl, definitely felt like that had to have been, like, a deliberate choice for one ending for Yuji and Yumiko to give birth to a boy, and then another to a girl. Yeah, considering that was basically the basis, one of the bases for Yumiko's just, like, having a lonely childhood. There's no way, like, that wasn't, like, on purpose. Like, there has to be, like, some sort of, like, hidden, like, some sort of, like, hidden reasoning behind just that choice and, like, the two endings. But I can't exactly, like, think of what that might be. I don't know, I could maybe just go on, like, the Grisaia subreddit or Discord server, just as, like, ask, like, I found it very, very interesting that one of Yumiko's endings, the two of them have a boy, and then in another they have a girl. Considering that was basically, like, a major plot point in Yumiko's backstory. Like, her gender that she was, like, born as and didn't choose. I don't know, I guess maybe the better ending with the girl, just to, like, I don't know, just show, like, just to, like, reassure, like, everyone, like, playing through the visual novel that it's perfectly fine to be born as a girl or something? I don't know. I don't know, I'm probably just really grasping at straws here, to be honest. I'm probably just really grasping at straws. Yep. 100% completion of Fruit of Grisaia. This took way longer than it should have. I think I literally started the first... I started this in 2020. This took way longer than it should have. Okay. I don't need to, like, full screen my live dashboard or anything. Yeah, the stream is probably just gonna be over in, like, mere minutes at this point. I got nothing else to really do tonight on stream. We finished the visual novel in question. Guess it's finally time to also go back to that playlist of my Fruit of Grisaia playthrough and finally update it to say completed. Long overdue, but there it is. The entire damn thing, and how the fuck did I cry only once throughout the entire playthrough of Fruit of Grisaia? How did I start crying only once? I don't even know. I mean, I don't know, I almost did, like... Yeah, like, towards the end of Yumiko's route, I almost did. Can we just go as far back as possible? I want to see the upload date on Main Route Part 1. February 8th, 2020. And we are currently January 18th, 2023. Should I maybe just, like, wait it to just do this, like, last Grisaia stream on, like, the 7th or the 8th of February, just so it was, like, 3 years exact? It would have been funny. But, no. I don't know, I've definitely put off just finishing this masterpiece of visual novel for long enough. And yeah, speaking of, like, visual novels... Yeah, I'm gonna go actually probably double check to see when I downloaded, like, Data Live. The visual novels, like, there's actually 3 of them that you get with, like, 1 purchase. Which I picked up a while ago because it was on sale. I think I spent about, like, 50% less than what I would have spent otherwise. Though, I'm still asking myself if I really want to just go, like, all in with doing visual novels, because... Yeah, I'm still thinking about, like, Boss Quar and just the trouble he's had with keeping his YouTube channel, like, up. Yeah, it was told about the first time by physicists, like, bad news. Boss Quar's YouTube channel that he's been working on for, like, I don't know, almost 10 years has been terminated. And then, just recently, for the fun of it, decided to look at his Twitter feed to see that in that time since... I heard about the first channel termination from copyrighted content in one of the visual novels he played, that he had to basically just settle a dispute with the copyright holders to get his channel back up and running that he'd been working on for, like, almost a decade, if not at least a decade. And then, like, since then, his channel got terminated 2 more times. I shit you not. Dude fucking had to worry about losing his entire channel, like, 3 times at this point. Fucking copyright monster, I tell you. I want to see if there's, like, a date on, like, when I'm guessing this is the date where I might have downloaded it. Playtime 2 minutes. I guess I just quickly check to see if it ran after buying it. You know, like, if I buy something and it crashes, I'd be sorely disappointed. So, it's 3 visual novels in one. First, there's, I don't even know how to pronounce Rin's name exactly. It could be Rin, it could be Rine. Rine or Rin Utopia, however that's pronounced. Arusu install, and then, well, Rio Reincarnation. So, yeah, of course, I haven't unlocked anything. I haven't even played the visual novel yet. Alright, so I got even more trading cards to collect in the future, eventually. Yeah, so I only know, like, very minute things about all of these 3 visual novels that I got with 1 purchase. I mean, if it's, like, 50% off, and I eventually plan to see what this is all about, I mean, of course! Of course we'll do it! Yeah, so Rene Unitopia, oh my god. So oh my god! Rene Utopia. I mean, I'm probably gonna get the correct pronunciation eventually. It takes place after the events of Volume 4 of the Data Life series. Arasu install would take place after, like, Volume 7. And I think Rio Reincarnation a little bit after the events of Arasu. And then there's, like, a 4th visual novel that still doesn't have an English release at the moment. That I'd also be, like, kind of interested in checking out. And I have, like, no idea, like, when or if we're ever gonna get, like, an English release for Ren Dystopia. That's the name of the 4th one. I have also, for the further record, I have never played this game. This was, like, one of my brother's old computers, so I'd have to ask my brother, like, what the hell Jesus Christ RPG Trilogy was about, because I kind of wonder now that I think about it. This I remembered. This I especially remembered. Never played Among Us, though. I got gifted it, but just never got around to playing it. And I've kind of just, like, lost interest in GD, to be honest. Or is this like a review or something? I will go date with everyone. Community guide. Kurumi best waifu. She's definitely by far the most popular character of the series, for what I know. Yeah, so this girl who's killed like at least 10,000 people. Though, like, I'm aware of her backstory because I got to just, well, I don't know if, like, those reaction videos that I saw from, like... Yeah, he goes by 2 names. Kazuzo414 Anime. He basically reacted to, like, all the new episodes of Data Life Season 4 when those were coming out. So I basically just watched, like, few snippets of the newest season of Data Life, so I'm aware of the events of Volumes 13 to 16 as well. I mean, I've definitely been consuming the Data Life franchise out of order, to be honest. Gonna be shortly reading up, like, to Volume 4, but I've seen, like, enough information from Season 4 to kind of just understand, like, the basic synopsis of Volumes 13 to 16 as well, of the series. And yes, like, some of the spirits also have, like, their own tragic backstories. It's not, like, definitely not a Fruit of Grisaia exclusive thing. I mean, Kurumi has her backstory, and then, like, all the stuff she's doing in, like, Volume 16 and whatnot definitely makes it a lot easier to see, like, why she's so popular. I guess, like, maybe the first impression you get from her when she's, like, trying to just kill everyone. Yeah, like, basically Shido just says, like, I want to save you, and then she just replies with trying to basically kill everyone in his school by draining their life essence so she can just live longer. Yeah, not a very good first impression, to be honest. I don't want to be saved. If you keep trying to save me, I'm going to kill all of your friends right in front of you. Oh, there's other characters. It's not just all Kurumi. Okay, I feel like if I keep scrolling down, I'm gonna maybe just spoil myself details for the visual novel itself in question if I keep scrolling down too much. I think I'll spoil myself, to be honest. So I have no clue when I'll start playing these. And I'm definitely hoping, of course, I'm not gonna maybe, like, go down a similar path to Boss Core and just, I don't know, risk losing my entire channel. Because I've been on YouTube for like 10 plus years myself. So yeah, can only hope that, yeah, I'm probably gonna go through with like the live streams of the Data Live visual novels, but we can only hope that, I don't know, like, I still have a channel by the end of it, because you never know with YouTube anymore these days, you just never know. Yeah, so, until then, peace.